It's here, the moment you have all been waiting for.
The highlight of your week.
Yes, that is exactly right. It is a TB3 podcast, lucky number 13. There might be a celebrity that likes that number as well, but we're not going to get into that because we talk about the Tampa Bay
She has
sports.
a lot to do with the NFL these days.
Wow, yeah. I mean, we can't watch an NFL game without talking about her. But
we're not gonna.
I'm just feeling really grateful right now. While Tampa Bay sports might not be at their highest point of the year, sports in general are at the highest point of the year. We got great MLB playoff games. We got college football and NFL in full swing, full slates every weekend. We got the NBA starting. We got hockey in its third week. I mean, I feel so grateful. October's the best, man.
It's a magical time of the year when all the sports leagues align and you got something on every night. I mean, there's even football on Tuesdays. I mean, you can't get enough of it. It is so nice.
You talking about Maction?
Not yet. Right now, it's a Conference USA. They do this thing now where they start the first half of the year, and then you have to wait for the best for last. That's Maction. I think it starts after Halloween, actually. So looking forward to that. Love me some action on Tuesday night. Nothing better than Akron and Eastern Michigan.
Oh, yeah.
Don't forget about the USL, the United Soccer League. Unfortunately, our Rowdies went out on Saturday.
Yeah, and you throw like a Toledo Rockets on the Tuesday night. That's electric, man. Oh, man. I love some action. I love football, man. I love college football. But you guys know that.
Yeah, the Rowdies went out?
I heard they went out on Saturday.
That was Saturday? They got eliminated?
I think so.
Oh,
Don't quote me,
gosh.
fans. I'm sorry.
Sorry, guys. We had to start off with the most important story of the weekend.
Yeah.
The Rowdies are out, I guess. We don't know.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I love the Rowdies. I love all Tampa Bay sports, but I have no clue where they're at in their season. That's kind of with soccer, you know. It's so
and the
confusing.
WNBA, but that's just a stray bullet for me, man. I'm sorry. That was unnecessary.
The USL is just kind of sneaky. It goes like the whole time of baseball, but like you just don't hear about it.
USL is basically like AAU basketball. It's all year, man. You never know, and there's just like some seasons that are.
I
some
feel like
seasons
it's the
that are more
same with
popular.
every soccer league. Like MLS, I feel like never seems to end. Messi's been playing since they signed him. Like, does that season ever end? Who knows?
No, it's like soccer. They have like 87 different leagues they play. Like they got the Champions Cup, they got the Premier League, they got the Commissioner's Cup. They got all this stuff, and they just play all year. Then they got national team. They got all this stuff. But this is not a soccer podcast, guys. This is a Tampa Bay sports podcast, and we got to start off with one of the disappointing Tampa Bay teams this weekend, your Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, we got to let you down real early into the show, but we must do what must be done, and that's talking about your Tampa Bay teams. It was a sunny and very hot day in Raymond James Stadium. The Bucs are at home again. Mr. Beast was in the building.
And Dave Bautista.
Dave Bautista and another WWE guy who I forgot his name, but he's just as important up there. So a lot of celebs out there for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Could they get the dub for them? We shall see. The Buccaneers would get the ball first, and they did something which they do just about every game now. It's been pretty routine. The Buccaneers go 3 and out. Atlanta, the Buccaneers' opponents, the Atlanta Falcons, who are in the NFC South, big matchup. On their first drive, they would go 8 plays, 58 yards, and Desmond Ridder would run into the end zone for an easy touchdown. The Bucs, though, they needed to answer the bell, and they did right away. They would go 7 plays, 67 yards down the field. Baker Mayfield on 2nd and 10 at the Atlanta 40, looks to his left. Caught ball, Mike Evans, touchdown Tampa Bay, fire the cannons. As Gene Deckerhoff would say in your Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
It was like I was watching Tom Brady again.
That was an elite ball placement, elite route. What a play. The Bucs would tie the game at 7-7 going into the second quarter. Couple punts to start it off, and Atlanta would finally get the scoring going for the second quarter and kick a field goal. They would go up 10-7. But the Bucs would have a drive of their own with the field goal and tie it up right away. It's neck and neck. Then, late in the first half, Atlanta is driving down the field. They are in Bucs territory at the 11-yard line. It is 3rd and goal. Desmond Ridder's rolling out. He is looking for a receiver, and he is sacked by Shaq Barrett forces a ball out and is recovered by Jamel Dean, and the Bucs would run out the clock of the first half. It is tied, though. Who can come away in the second half? We get there. The Atlanta Falcons would get the ball first, and they would punt the ball. Could the Bucs do something on offense? No, they would not. They would fumble the ball and give it right back to Atlanta. However, Atlanta would have the ball on the Bucs goal line, and Desmond Ridder bobbles a snap. The Bucs pick it up and they get the ball back. Now is it time for the Bucs to do something? No, they would have to punt it away, and Atlanta on their next drive would get a field goal.
This game sucks.
It's 13-10, but the Bucs still have a chance. Late in the fourth quarter, the Falcons are driving again. If they score a touchdown here, it is probably over with a 10-point lead. Desmond Ridder, though, at the Tampa Bay 1-yard line, he already has one rushing touchdown. He's going to try to go for another one. He reaches over for the pylon, and Antoine Winfield peanut punches it out.
MVP. MVP.
Amazing play.
Yeah, what a play, and it was the fun little NFL rule where it rolls out of the back of the end zone, and it would be a touchback for the Bucs. Could the Bucs answer? They're down 13-10. But they're driving. They go 54 yards down the field, dink it and dunking it. They just need a field goal. Baker Mayfield, though, sees K. Dotton open in the flats. He throws the ball. It is an overthrow, terrible throw, intercepted. But it's not over yet. The Bucs could get a stop and get the ball back with just seconds left. And the defense comes up big. They give the Bucs a chance to tie. But the Bucs are looking for more. They march all the way down the field in 1 minute, 10 plays, 49 yards. But after 3 attempts at the goal line, they cannot score a touchdown. They have to settle for 3. And all they have to do is just hold on for 45 seconds and send it to overtime at 13 apiece. But they would give up a huge pass from Desmond Ridder to Kyle Pitts, the Florida Gator, and he would set the Atlanta Falcons up for Young-Ho Koo to kick a game-winning field goal, and your Tampa Bay Buccaneers would lose 16-13.
I'm saying it. This was by far the worst game of the season, and probably the worst Bucs game since when they played the Cleveland Browns last year.
Oh, that was bad.
It was horrible. This was a terrible game. The Falcons fumbled the ball on the 1-yard line, not once, twice, and the Bucs could not capitalize on any of these chances. The offense was stagnant. It was sloppy football. The defense let the Falcons drive up and down the field way too many times. It was poor performance all around.
Yeah, it was disappointing to say the least. I happened to be in attendance at this game, so it just was a little extra of a sting being there and seeing it with my own 2 eyes. So, yeah, the Bucs have a lot of stuff to work on. It was frustrating, not just on offense, which has kind of seemed to draw the media's attention, but on the defense as well. Both sides of the ball, you can't win games playing like that. And I know it's the low-scoring game, but you play better teams and a certain team you play coming up that if you give up so many third downs and so forth, it is not going to be pretty.
My one statement towards this game is this. We asked this question last week. Are the creamsicles cursed? No, we just stink.
Maybe. I mean, the first thing that sticks out to me of this football game is how sloppy the Bucs played. The Bucs had 9 penalties for 66 yards, which on paper isn't that bad, but when you realize that there was probably, 4 or 5 pre-snap penalties that were just absolutely killer, especially at home, where you're not going against crowd noise. You're at home, and it's just miscommunication and bad teamwork, bad by Baker, bad by the center, all that stuff. There was way too many pre-snap penalties. It was bad. There was 2 turnovers by the Bucs, a really bad interception by Baker. That was the first moment where I was kind of like, that was Cleveland. That was Carolina Baker, that interception. He forced it into double coverage. There was not a receiver there. We were in the red zone. It stalled out a drive. Who knows? I know we went back down and scored to tie the game up, but if we're, on that drive, if we get a touchdown or a field goal, the next drive. It's just
Could've
it's
been
just
game winner.
it's just a whole different game if Baker doesn't throw the interception. And also Devin Tompkins lost a fumble trying to get yards. Cutting back into the defense, you've got
Running backwards.
You've got to secure the football if you're going to cut back in. You know there's people swarming in, coming from the middle, punching the ball, all that stuff. You've got to put two hands on the football, and he did not. And then also, Bucs didn't score a red zone touchdown. We'll get to this later, but the final drive where the Bucs ended up getting a field goal instead of a touchdown was not a fan of the plays they called. The execution was not good either. And they ended up giving the Falcons way too much time and not getting a touchdown. So all of these things were mental errors. I don't think Todd Bowles or Canales did a good job managing the clock either. By the way, both halves. But all these things were mental errors that the Bucs controlled that they just did not do, and that's why they lost this game.
Yeah, I think to start in response to what you mentioned, number one was penalties. I think when you're playing a home game and Raymond James, you shouldn't even have one false start. And I don't know the exact number, but it was way too many.
It was 4, I think. It was 3 or 4.
Yeah, that is just ridiculous. What's going on, guys? The crowd's not going crazy. I was at the game. It wasn't packed with Atlanta Falcons fans. You cannot make those silly mental mistakes because it just stalls drives. That's so important. So the Bucs got to clean that up. I think, too, with Baker's interception, yeah, that was bad. You have to be honest there. That was a bad turnover in a bad spot because one thing you didn't mention is there was really no guarantee that they were going to get the ball back. They had 2 timeouts and the 2-minute warning. But with how the defense played the entire day,
especially how they were stopping the run, they weren't stopping the
run.
run.
They were not stopping the run. There's really no guarantee they were going to get the ball back, so you can't have that. You got to be clutch in clutch moments, man.
Yeah. Like, it was just, I feel like we only gave, 60% effort in this game. Like, the highlight of the game was, one of the first plays of the game, that touchdown. We were at Beef O'Brady's. Shout out.
Shout out Beefs, man.
Place was electric.
It went downhill after we left
Beef O'Brady's, whenever you want to sponsor us, just give us a call.
Dude,
please,
that's a dream sponsor
please,
for the TV3 boys.
Yeah, but, outside of that and outside of the punch of the ball out, it was like we were playing this game half asleep. And I feel like that all kind of goes on coaching. Like, Todd Bowles, I need 100% of this team.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it again. Unfortunately, I'm gonna turn to the offensive side of the ball, which
we can start offense. Yeah,
I think we start offense because I know they're not the only reason they lost, but I do think they are the bigger side of the ball that underperformed this game. And I mean, we can say it again. We've harped on it all season. The Bucs again were one-dimensional, and you can't be one-dimensional in the National Football League. You're not going to be successful. They finished this game with 73 yards rushing, and half of that was on Baker Mayfield scrambling. So it wasn't even like there was not much running room.
And it came on one play. It was like a 40-yard run towards the end of the game.
Exactly.
And that was basically
that was a great moment of the game.
It was a great run.
It was a great one. Baker would he turned the burners on for that run. But Rachaad White had 34 yards rushing. Keyshawn Vaughn had a few yards. It was nothing crazy, but it was a one-dimensional offense again, and this is a reoccurring problem, and it's pretty evident that the interior offensive line is just not starter level. I mean, all of these people, Mouch, Feeler, Hainsey, all of them are just not playing good football, and you can go a little on the running backs, I understand, but you have to start with the interior line. There's nowhere to go in the middle. There's no space. There's nothing. They're getting bowled over every single play.
Yeah, it is so frustrating. Again, until I see something. I did notice one play with Rachaad White. He ran right into the back of an offensive lineman where it looked like that the hole was pretty much wide open there. But outside of that one play, from watching film and looking at the Pro Football Focus grades, this is 100% on the interior offensive line. Let me just show you. I mean, it's a 0 to 100% grading scale for PFF, Pro Football Focus, and right there at the bottom you got Robert Hainsey at 45.4% grade for his game performance. Matt Feeler 41.8%. Payne Durham, he's a tight end, but he's in there blocking 35.5%. I know he's a rookie, but they brought him in specifically to be another run blocker, not just catching balls and stuff like that. And then even the best grades for the Bucs, Luke Gedeke 76.9. That's pretty mediocre. Just because you're the highest throughout the game doesn't mean you played well. Tristan Wirfs even lower, 74.4. So I love the tackles. I love Wirfs. We know he's an all-pro, and he's probably not, if not the best, one of the best tackles in the game. And Luke Gedeke's definitely improving, but it's all 5 of them. They have all their moments throughout the game. So it's a problem that we've seen for 2 years now. It's been 2 years, and I've just been kind of sick reading some of the stuff that the media, the local media especially, has been saying. Like, so everybody's to blame but the O-line. And I don't know why we're in this situation, but you got to be honest. And I hate picking on these guys. I know some of them are young and inexperienced and don't have a lot of reps. But what do you expect? Nothing will change if this interior offensive line doesn't fix. Nothing will change the rest of the season, and it won't get better.
Yeah, and I think one thing I will say about Rachaad White and our offensive line, I don't think his running style really meshes well with the type of line we have, which is a bad line. He's a very patient runner. He picks his holes. He waits behind the line, and he just can't be doing that. Like, we see Rachaad White, he has 34 yards rushing, but then you look and he has 65 yards receiving. And it shows that when he's in space and when he has the opportunity, like on a couple of those dump down passes or screens or stuff like that, he's making the most of it. When he has space, he's able to cut in. He's able to make people miss. But he has to know that you can't wait. There's not going to be time to wait. You have to just get the tough yards, because if you switch this running attack from 70 to 100 or 120, then we have a shot. We have a shot to be a two-dimensional offense and a shot to be a functioning offense like we've seen in the Saints game or in the Bears game or stuff like that. But you can't wait behind this line, because you're not gonna be able to let the play develop and find holes. It's just not gonna happen.
Yeah, but sometimes you have to wait, and that's again why this offensive line is so bad. Is sometimes you have to wait for certain blocks to develop. There's certain stunts and pulls that the offensive line does, and then other times you have to wait for a cutback lane. What I saw in film multiple times, the cutback lane is there. However, whether it be Feeler or Hainsey or Cody Mauch, they're on the ground or they whiff the block, and so there is no really, he can't wait.
There's
time. Somebody in his face right away.
He's getting tackled before he can cut back.
Exactly,
You're right. Yeah, I'm with you. I just think it's just unfortunate, because I think Rachaad White behind a good offensive line could be a really, really good running back in the NFL, but I think he has to adjust his running style just a little bit towards the end of the season, or the Bucs need to acquire a running back with a different running style and have Rachaad White be more of a receiving back, outside pass catcher, and outside runner. That's just
we need a beefier guy, like not like can't remember the name off the top of my head, but the guy that we were in love with for the last couple of years, played on with LSU.
Lenny?
But this is what I'm saying. This is my point
Lenny
right here.
had the same problem last year.
Fournette.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Leonard Fournette was slowing down. It was the end of his career, so we had the same problem.
No, but what Will is saying is Leonard Fournette also struggled last year because he had the same problems in the backfield where he's getting blown up by the interior line.
That's what I'm saying.
I agree.
We've just gone through this cycle, and it's run by people like Pewter Report, who I cannot stand. I absolutely cannot stand Pewter Report. But last year it was, well, play off Lenny. He's too slow. He's slowing down. Got to get rid of him. Bucs do that. Well, then the running game's still bad. And it's like, well, don't blame Rachaad White. It's not him. It's Byron Leftwich. He's too predictable. This is why our offense stinks. Well, then here we are this year, and now people are already talking about how we need to trade for another running back. When it's like the problem has consistently been our offensive line. And getting a new running back, getting Rashad Penny or something like that, or firing Dave Canales, isn't going to fix anything, because these offensive linemen stink. They stink. And we've seen it game in and game out.
That's the hard thing with losing Ryan Jensen at the beginning of the year. It's like, all right, plan B.
And that's big. I'll agree with you that that's big that they don't have Ryan Jensen in there. He is the leader. But also that falls on Jason Light, which is, why didn't you go out and find somebody to replace him? Because you saw what Robert Hainsey did last year, and it wasn't that great. And now it's like he's doing the same thing again.
Agreed. No, I agree. we shouldn't have been banking on Ryan Jensen. I think a lot of people within the organization were very unsure of what he was going to give the Bucs this year, and then obviously we see that he's going to probably retire. So I think it was pretty unwise for Jason Licht to try to bank on Ryan Jensen. Some of that might have been salary cap, where he just didn't have the cap space to try and get a center or an interior lineman that could slide over. But still, you needed to do your best, or you needed to, which I guess Cody Mouch, but I don't mind. Here's what I think. I don't mind the Kalijah Kancey. I think he's going to be a really good player. But in my mind, I thought the first-round pick should have been used on an offensive lineman. That was always my thing. So I think the Bucs were a little bit too much reliant on Ryan Jensen having an amazing comeback story, as opposed to filling the bigger hole that was the offensive line.
Yeah,
interior.
And again, I was really high on Cody Mouch, and I still think he could become a good O-lineman.
Totally, yeah, don't write him off.
But that's a draft pick you make when you already have an established 5, and he's from a D1 FCS team. Granted, North Dakota State is really good. They're a perennial powerhouse. But he's unproven, and you got to give him some time to develop and get acclimated to the league. But instead, you draft him with your second pick, and you throw him to the Wolves, and now you have a giant hole at right guard. That's the issue I have with it.
Yeah, I agree.
This is what will fix all of this. We just have to go back in time, and we have to get 2012 Doug Martin.
The hamster.
The muscle hamster could fix a lot of things. I would love this. I love Doug Martin run the football. He was awesome. I will say we should just get to it because Will did mention it. There's been a lot of turmoil around Dave Canales' name last week and then this week. I know he had I can't remember what quote he said, but he said something. It was a very profound quote, and the performance from the offense did not really back up his quote. So I digged into it. I know we all have like numbers and lanes for this. I just want to, so one-dimensional, right? 20 out of the 63 Bucs plays this game were rushers. So obviously that's less than half. It wasn't really going their way. I expected it to actually be more rushes. So this was kind of me pointing, like, I think a lot of people are like, why do you keep running the ball up the middle? Why do you keep doing it? And I think Dave Canales was doing the minimum amount of runs that he could to set up the pass game. So I think in that sense, he did good. However, I do think when you have a struggling rushing game, I think you have to get creative. And this is something we've seen Dave Canales do in the past. Like, I remember the preseason game, we ran a jet sweep to Cade Otton, the tight end. But in this game, there was 3 people that ran the ball. It was Keyshawn Vaughn, it was Rashad White, it was Baker Mayfield. There was no pop passes, no jet sweeps, nothing, no creative way to manufacture rushing yards. And I think Dave Canales has to do a better job of that in the games coming forward. I think when Dave Canales gets creative, like, I mean, I'm seeing like Dolphins games where they're just pop passing it to, they got Tyreek Hill in the backfield, they got all these type of creative things, and I think he's got to get a little saucy with it. Because I know Dave Canales can do it, and I think just a little more creativity will be able to manufacture the 30 to 40 more rushing yards that we need to be a two-dimensional offense. You guys agree?
Kind of. I mean, you see the stuff that Miami can do because they have a good offensive line and they have double the speed that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have because, I mean, Mike Evans is fast in space, but you can't ever hand the ball off to him.
We're lacking speed.
Or not really. You can't really hand the
speed.
ball off to Chris Godwin either. And I think I brought this up last week too, but the only way the Bucs can really sustain running right now is running up the middle because it guarantees you're not going to lose as many yards. You run a jet sweep, you run a toss, you run outside zone. You're looking at a 5 to 7 yard loss compared to a 1 to 2 yard loss or getting stuffed at the line of scrimmage. You just can't do that stuff right now, and especially when you don't have the speed at receiver to run some jet sweeps. I know Devin Tompkins is there, but again, it goes right back to the O-line. Are they going to be able to block for that long, and can they drive guys to the outside and create some open lanes out there? I don't think so. That's kind of the issue that we saw last year too, which everybody's like, why do we run it up the middle? Well, because we have to, because we can't run outside. We will just constantly lose 5 to 7 yards of play.
I agree, but I do think if we run these outside run pass schemes, I think we have a better chance at getting yards because I think the outside people there I think Chris Godwin's a really good blocking wide receiver. I think Wirfs, if he can get out on the edge, he's a good blocker. Mike Evans, he can do it. We've seen Trey Palmer. We've talked about Trey Palmer, how he's pancake people. He's a good blocker for a rookie receiver. I think if we can get those plays, we just have to get them going a little early. I think a problem with the Rays. Now the Rays, shut up.
There are problems with the Rays.
There are plenty of problems with it.
Can we not talk about
sorry,
the Rays,
that's on me.
guys?
That's me. A problem with the Bucs is this might be because of the offensive line. Like, we know we're talking the false starts, and sometimes I think they are a little slow to get off the ball and a little slow. The snaps haven't been great either this season from Hainsey. But if we can get these plays quicker developing on the outside and get the ball carrier to the people who are good blockers, which is our outside tackles and our receivers, I think we might be able to get some more yards. Because we have had some success with some jet sweeps in games like the Saints game and the Bears game. And even, I'm remembering something with the Vikings game, but the Saints game is the one that sticks out to me. It was a really good defense, and there was a very good array of play calls, and we had success driving up and down the field.
So why have we gone away from that kind of stuff? Is it just like...
It's hard. It's hard when you're really not getting a lot of success on first down to get creative, because first and second down is when you get creative with your plays. When you get the third down and it's third and long or third and medium, you got to drop back and pass. I mean, the majority of the time you have to drop back and pass. Or if it's third and one, you don't want to mess around.
Well,
you want to get the yard.
Bucs have no choice either because they can't get it. If they ran for it on third and short, they would not get it.
But I'm
really
just saying,
no
like,
chance.
the difference between, like, if it's third and 6 or third and 7, you got to just drop back and do a normal pass. You can't do a swing pass because that's just not gonna work. The Gators tried that earlier this season, and we saw that worked. So it's something. What else is good? Oh, the Bucs are 23rd in the NFL. They're averaging 4.9 yards per play. That's weak. We've talked about it though. The Bucs are a methodical offense. That's what they're gonna be. They're gonna get a shot at a couple big plays. They hit one this weekend with Mike Evans, but they're not the Dolphins. They're not the Chiefs. They're not gonna get these big plays. They're gonna have to chew clock. They're gonna have to possess the ball. So I don't know. I'm not fire Dave Canales, but I do think he could do a better job kind of spicing up the play calls. Is all I'm saying.
And I mean, he's at the beginning of his career as a head offensive coordinator, so we got to give him time. But I mean, we're just analyzing it on a Tuesday night.
I mean, again, with me though, it's that I really don't have any issue with what he's doing because where he comes from Seattle. They run a West Coast offense, kind of like that all the teams do in the NFC West. And you can't do that if you don't have a running game. But one thing I think the Bucs can do is what you saw a little bit more in the second half is they were passing to set up the run. And it's a little more difficult, but you're able to see kind of in that second half, they would pass, and then run some sort of a draw. And it still wouldn't get that many yards, but it was at least 4 to 5, maybe even 3, which felt a lot better than nothing or 1 yard. So I think if that's the way they're going to go, it will work. It's going to be tougher, but I think that can help boost the run game because the defense, you're expecting pass, you're going to pass rush, you're going to run way further upfield. You just drop it off to Rachaad White, and he can run for 4 to 5 yards before the defense closes back in. So I think I saw that in the second half. So again, I'm not going to hate on him because there's a lot of issues with this team, and it's hard. It makes his job way harder when you don't have a run game.
That's a good point, and that's what we're going to have to do because Baker had that bad pass, but he had a really solid game. I mean, he went 27 for 42, 275 yards, a touchdown, and interception. That's really solid. That can win you a lot of football games. We saw Mike Evans had a really nice bounce back game. They kind of went away from him. I think Falcons were doubling him in the second half, so that was part of the reason why they went away from him. And we have to see other people win their routes. We have to see Tompkins or Trey Palmer step up for sure. Another person that did step up, best game of the season, was Cade Otton. It was good to see him get the ball. He had five catches, 43 yards. I would really like to see him get more and more involved. He's a young player, but he has a lot of talent. Him and Baker, when they do hook up, it seems like they have a good connection. So I would really like to see them keep building on this game and keep going to Cade Otton more and more.
Yeah, and especially when You know teams are going to game plan against Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. That's just a fact. And I think the Bucs have been effective. Baker specifically has been effective in utilizing the check down. I say Dave Canales, you guys should work and come up with some plays and get K-Dot open for those check down routes. And a lot of people are saying he doesn't have breakaway speed or the ability to break tackles. I mean, we've seen such a little bit of him. We had Cam Brate last year when K-Dot was a rookie, and this year's his first year kind of as the main guy. So give that some time. I don't want to be tough on him too quick, but I think the more you get the ball to him, the more you'll see this guy can make some plays and be a really effective tight end.
With all of this, it's like once these players start getting involved in the game and once you start spreading out your passes, that's when you can't be double teaming Mike Evans anymore because it's like, oh, we got to cover this other random loser guy. He's not a loser, but he's a young guy.
Sorry, Cades.
I'm younger too, so I'm a random loser as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. Also, the sloppiness was the biggest reason Bucs weren't able to sustain drives. These penalties were killer. The turnovers were killer. Those are the biggest reason why the Bucs weren't able to sustain drives and score more than one touchdown. So we can go all on these players and play calling, but if you can't not beat yourself, you're not going to score points. Mm-hmm. That was the biggest thing that happened in this game. Was the Bucs were handed every opportunity they could, and they kept handing it right back to the Falcons. This game was the definition of a mid-off. Both teams were not trying to win this game. It was not good football. I mean, flat out. So we just got to see a big bounce back this week. I think we can move to defense.
Yeah, got to move to defense. A lot of people in the media were saying that, this team, they kept you guys in it. They gave the offense plenty of chances, which I agree. But you have to look at the bigger picture. This defense got ran all over and passed all over and really got lucky. I hate to say it, but they got lucky a lot of times. And this game should have been a lot worse with Atlanta scoring some more points that they should have. So, yeah, I think the biggest thing to look at for that is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are now dead last in the NFL on third downs. They allow opponents to convert 50% of their first downs, and that's opposed to last year when they were 37%. They allowed the Falcons to rush for 156 yards without Bijan Robinson really playing at all. So, yeah, I think that the bigger picture here is that the Bucs defense got lucky, and at the end of the day, you can say, well, we only gave up 16 points. And granted, the offense should have capitalized, but still, when we play these tougher teams, and you saw it a lot more last week, you saw them get exposed big time against Detroit. You just can't have this. You can't be a bend but don't break type defense, and a lot of teams try to do that, but you're still giving up points. Even if it's just a field goal, that's still 3 more points that they have than your team has, and you got to lock down, and you got to get off the field on third down. That is so big. I don't know why this has become an issue this year, but it is just genuinely frustrating for me.
The weird thing about all of this is it seems like a lot of this has been popping up since the bye week. It's like the bye week's where you're supposed to get your game improved, kind of figure out some of your flaws, clean everything up, straighten it all out. And the Lions game and now this Falcons game, it's like we're just getting run over. All the passes are working. Third downs are being converted. It's like we're going backwards.
Yeah, it's extremely frustrating because, like I said at the beginning of this year, I still think this defense is really good.
Yeah.
And it's not even just me thinking that. They are a really good defense, and teams know that. And that is why it's like, well, come on, guys, what are we doing? Because we've seen even this year them play way better than how they've been playing these last 2 games. We've seen it. So they got to step it up, and they got to fix this.
Yeah, and I think we talked third down. I didn't know we were last in the NFL. That's crazy. That comes back to coaching. Third down is what you game plan for. It's what you watch film all week for. It's what you make your in-game adjustments for. And that goes a lot back to coaching. When a defense can't get off the field on third down, obviously players got to make the plays. I get it. But the coaches have got to adjust and have better schemes for third down defense. You got to know when to blitz. You got to know when to drop out. You got to know when to bluff. You got to be able to disguise your coverages better, which I think the Bucs do kind of struggle with. And I just a lot of this third down stuff I think has to go back to coaching, in my opinion.
I would fully agree. It's like the tape's out on us. We're 6 games in for our team, and teams have adjusted to us, and now it's a matter of us to adjust back, and we haven't done it yet. Look, we hopefully will sooner than later, but we've seen 3 losses in the last, is it 4 games?
I think 3 out of 4.
Yeah, 3 out of 4, so it's time to adjust. Let's hope we do it sooner than later.
Yeah,
because we have the Bills on Thursday.
Yeah, that is true. And it seemed this defense was playing on their heels all game. I mean, we see only 1 sack and 2 tackles for loss. That's an alarmingly low number of plays made in the backfield. We know that 1 sack was a fumble, and the fumbles were huge. One of them was a bobble snap, but the 2 punch-outs were huge. They're plays. They're guys making big plays. I understand that. But throughout the course of the game, the tackles for losses is what puts people behind the sticks. And if you're letting people, even on a bad play, the Falcons get 4 yards or they get 3 yards, you're just on your heels the entire game. That's what the Bucs defense seemed to be this entire game. And it was because they couldn't stop the run, which was very weird. I know the Falcons have a good run game. That's what they base a lot of their attack on. And Desmond Ridder was running the ball more, which helped them out a lot, which was a good adjustment from them. I will give them that. But you got to tighten up. You have the players. You got Vita Vea. You got Elijah Campsey. Very quiet game from both of them. Not up to their standards at all, I would say. So those guys definitely need to set up. The ends, I think, played better, but they're running it right down the throat, right down your throat. The ends can't really do much if you're running right past them.
Yeah, again, I want to be able to defend Todd Bowles because I like him, and again, I want to see him succeed. I hate when people get so quick to jump on the head coach and try to get him out of there. So I have to say a lot of this stuff is still on the defensive players. Like you said, you brought up Vita Vea. I know he's battling with a foot injury and Elijah Campsey, but yeah, that's supposed to be your run stoppers, especially Vita Vea. And you did mention the edges, but they also had a tough day too because on the first touchdown of the game, Joe Tyon-Shoyinka got caught way inside, and you shouldn't let Desmond Ridder break contain on you and outrun you. That's just embarrassing. And then I'd say even your second line of defense, which is your linebackers, Devin White, I think he's played a lot better this entire year. But then we see this week he's way out of position. He's overrunning the gap.
He's been quiet, though. I was going to mention him because I feel like we haven't talked Devin White since, the Vikings game. I mean, he got that interception against the Eagles, but he's been very quiet. Levante David has racked up huge game after huge game, and Devin White's kind of just been in the shadows. And I expect a lot more from Devin White. He's a playmaker. I remember 2021, 2020, he's all over the place. I've seen that from Devin White.
Especially if he wants that giant contract.
Yes, so he's got to be a more of a force on the field, quite frankly, because he's not. He's not.
He's playing at replacement level.
I mean, seriously, like the Bucs. Truly, that seems harsh, but the Bucs have a very deep linebacker core, and I think you could throw someone in right now and get Devin White's replacement. That might be foreshadowing.
Servache Dennis,
perhaps. That might be foreshadowing to what some of us might say later.
But yeah, to bring up another point too, which why I'll still defend Todd Bowles, is the Bucs defense only had 1 third down that was 9 yards or more, and that was where they got the sack by Shaq Barrett. Everything else under that was 3rd and 9 or less. A ton of 3rd and 1s, 3rd and 2s, 3rd and 3s. So even as a defensive coordinator, I mean, it is so hard to stop that every single 3rd down where it's only 2 yards. It's easy to just sometimes lean forward. We see the tush push in Philly. They got that mastered. So it makes it way harder as a defensive coordinator / head coach to call plays that are going to get stopped like that every time when the defense gives up 5 to 7 yards on 1st and 2nd down. That's my thing as well.
I agree. And also another defense for Todd Bowles is The Bucs' red zone defense is absolutely outstanding. They are number 1 in the NFL in opponents' red zone percentage. The Falcons went 1 for 5 today, or on Sunday, and they are allowing teams to score touchdowns 22.2% of the time in the red zone. That's amazing, and that does come down to scheme. When the field gets tight, the plays get a little more creative. There's less space. The defense has to bear down, and they have done that. So that's another defense for Todd Bowles' case. So on that, I agree with you. So I mean that's.
But yeah, I would take that with a grain of salt still, because you're playing the Atlanta Falcons. We're not sitting here talking about how they played against the Eagles.
Well, they did.
How they played
did
against
do
the
that
Lions.
against the Eagles and the Lions, though. They did bear down.
But this
boosted
boosted a lot of their stats because of the 3 turnovers in the red zone. And I just think you're playing Buffalo this week on Thursday night on Prime with Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit. If you let that team get into the red zone as many times as you let the Falcons do, that stat's going to go way back down, back to reality, because Josh Allen, yeah, he has some turnover issues, but that team is too good and too experienced. They're not going to fumble the ball 3 times in the red zone. They are just not going to do it. And neither are any teams in the playoffs or some of the matchups we'll see later on in the year. You just cannot let it get to that point. It's good that they're getting stops, but you can't let it get to that point. You can't let them have 3 drives on your 10-yard line. You just can't let that happen.
Yeah, and that affects the offense too. I mean, that it's hard to get a rhythm when you're sitting on the sideline for 6 minutes of game time. So that's affecting the offense too as well. Even though you're getting the stops, you're getting off the field, the offense has no rhythm whatsoever. They're not able to – they're sitting, they're getting cold for way too long. So you've got to tighten up earlier as a Bucs defense. I think we're all in agreement on that.
And on the other side of that coin, the defense left out to dry, and they're getting tired by the fourth quarter when you need that big stop.
Yeah, agreed. And, yeah, I mean, shout out Levante David. We mentioned him earlier, but 13 tackles, a tackle for a loss, a pass breakup. He's father time has no bearing on him. Levante David has been ramping up and playing great football the last couple of weeks. Another person who's been playing great football the last couple of weeks, another good game from Jamel Dean. He had 10 tackles. He tackled the ball. He pursued, tackled great, good coverage all around. Good job, Jamel Dean. I think that bye week and getting those couple weeks off and getting healthy has treated him very well. So love to see that. Shaq Barrett, probably his second best game of the season. 7 tackles, a strip sack, and also a pass deflection, a pass breakup. So good for him. Those are your 3 standouts. I would say the people I'm looking for to step it up is definitely Ryan Neal. Broke contain on that last play. Absolutely.
Ryan Neal's terrible.
Absolutely brutal mistake. He's been probably the most disappointing Buck for me. I thought he was going to fit in and be a great defensive player, and it just has not worked out.
I was waiting for you to bring up Ryan Neal, because not only seeing that play live and then rewatching it in film, it's just there's no excuse for it. And I hate in football where you bring up one specific play and that kind of decides how you feel about a guy. But it is just so frustrating when, number one, he was out of position right off the rip. And think about it. It's 13-13 with 40 seconds left. You know they're going to pass. You know they're going to pass, and they're probably going to look for their best player in Kyle Pitts. And what do? You go out of position on him. Then you watch him catch the ball, make an acrobatic catch. It wasn't a great throw by Ritter. And then instead of just running downfield and making a play, you let him run outside of you when you're already in front of him and let him get a big gain to set them up in field goal range. It's just, that was atrocious, and you can't have that at that moment in the game. I don't care if that happens in the first quarter, second quarter, but fourth quarter with 40 seconds left, like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Where are your instincts at all to go and make a play? Because you didn't make one mistake, you made 3 on the same exact play. And you can look at last week too, the 50-50 ball with Jamison Williams. Again, could you say he was out of position? Yeah, probably. He was running for his life, and he's a safety. He's the only guy back there. So I think it's time to start D. Delaney. I really do. I think D. Delaney should play that strong safety position and get Ryan Neal out of there, because you can't have a liability out there in clutch moments.
Yeah, or move D. Delaney to Christian Eisen's spot and move Christian Eisen to that spot. Either one of those scenarios, I'm fine with, because the not making a play on the ball, I can understand. It was a good catch. Kyle Pitts is a big guy, but not making that tackle is inexcusable. With the time and the score, and everyone knows where they're trying to get the field goal target. He would have been tackled. If you just make the tackle, they're still 20 to 25 yards short, and they have, probably like 20, 25 seconds or so, I think, was around the time frame. That's hard to do. You have to make that tackle. He was sitting there like
he's watching it.
He was hoping the ball.
Died.
He was hoping the ball was going to be overthrown. He could intercept it, which is just not a responsible thing to do in that scenario. You have to play it safe. You have to be disciplined in that play, because that is the one thing that could hurt you, is him running all the way to the field goal target line, and that's what happened. It's inexcusable. I'm with Will. I think you might consider benching him.
I think a lot of the performance that we've had over the last 4 or so games, it goes on Todd Bowles. Like, Todd Bowles is the anti-Kevin Cash. Kevin Cash will bench somebody just for no complete reason at all. He's just like, I needed to bench him. But Todd Bowles is like, oh, me and him, we've been buds since I was in 9th grade. And he will just play somebody even though they shouldn't even play on some college teams. And that's one of my biggest flaws with him. Like, everyone says he's an awesome guy, so that's great. But there needs to be some benching. We need to start putting some fire into these guys' seats that says, you suck, guess what? Your replacement's right behind you. But we don't do that. He's too much of a buddy, and that's ultimately going to be the downfall of this team year after year until he either changes his ways or we say goodbye.
Well, if you make it to the NFL, you're the best of the best. So you still have to give respect to these guys. I think not that he's afraid to bench him because he's buddy. I think when he looks at his job status and what this season means as far as winning, I think he's going with the safe bet. I think Baker was the safe bet.
But the problem is,
I think Ryan Neal is the safe bet. It's not working. I agree with you, but I'm saying I don't think it's more of that he's too buddy with these guys. I think he's trying to do just enough to keep his job.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, I'm not on the full Todd Bowles hate train, but you have to be you have to be the voice, the big enough man to, when someone is underperforming, bench them. You have, and we'll see how he treats these next 2 weeks, because you can't just let the same person come in and let the defense down, because that's what Ryan Neal has done the last 2 weeks. I hate to rip on the guy, and that's what the interior line, but I don't know if there's better options. But that's what these 3 or 4 people there isn't. That's what these 2 to 3 to 4 people are doing for the entire team. And you have to, if you have D. Delaney, who all he's done when he's in the game has got interceptions and
make
big
plays.
hits. That's all he's done, is make hits or make plays. You have to try something, because at the end of the day, the safe bet, it could just be the stupid bet. You have to make moves and do stuff. You can't just roll something out and not change it the whole season. That's just not going to work, especially if it's not working. It's just not going to happen. So it'll be a very telling 2 weeks for Todd Bowles to see, because I obviously Thursday's going to be a really tough game. We all know that. We're not banking on a win. That's why this loss this past Sunday hurts even more, because you have probably your hardest or second hardest game on your schedule coming up. But then there's a stretch of games. It gets easier. You got to get back to winning ways. You can't let this, and it sucks because the trade deadline's next week, and we're gonna have to make some decisions soon. We're gonna have to.
Is that a transition
I think it's a segue.
right there?
I think it's a segue. We'll do this before we. Do you want to preview the game, or
we'll wait till the end? We always gotta predict right at the end. So I think we kind of collectively decided that since October 31st, Halloween is the trade deadline, we're gonna get this out of the way. I think we're gonna talk about, I guess, the biggest question first: should the Bucs be buyers or should they be sellers? And we'll come up with some names who should be on the block for who they should trade for if they're going to buy, or who they should trade away if they're going to sell. So I guess we'll start off with you, Joel. Do you think right now, at this point in the season, should the Bucs be buyers or sellers?
I mean, the reality is out there. If the Bucs make the playoffs, we are going to get slapped.
Don't say that.
Slapped.
Things can change. Things
Slapped.
can change. Nuh-uh.
He said it. It's
We
too
are
late
going
now.
to get
It's
it
set in stone.
He was wrong last week. He lost his.
Because he
his
picked the
juju.
Bucs to win, but he'll pick them to lose, and they'll lose.
That's my first mistake. I'm sorry. So we're gonna get slapped out of the first round. No problem. We are just a place filler if we go to the playoffs. So I'm selling. Like we need to start restocking. This year is not going to do anything for us. I mean, if somebody is out there willing to take Mike Evans, I would let him go. Like, there's some college players out there where I'm like, man, if that was my wide receiver going forward, I'd be a happy dude.
Keon Coleman.
Ricky Pearsall.
I mean, like him, there's others out there too. Like, I would be a serious seller, and I would be willing to let go of guys like Mike Evans, like
Keon Coleman and Ricky Pearsall would actually be a nasty combo. You got Ricky running routes on the inside and Keon Coleman going for go routes on the sideline. That's disgusting.
I'd let go of Devin White. Like, whatever you can get rid of that's not going to help you in the next 3 years, you're gone.
Yeah, my thing about selling in the NFL is I just don't think you, in the midseason, I just don't think you get the value that you do in other sports for trading players. Like, we see players get traded for like 4th, 5th round picks, and that's it. And every time I see a trade like this, I'm like, what? They got traded for that? Like, I mean, I think Derrick Henry's probably going to get traded for like a 3rd round pick. And he's been, I know he's slowing down, but he's been like one of the best running backs in the NFL the last 3 or 4 years. And I just don't think selling is worth the thing he's going to get back. I almost would rather, like, just play it out, see what you can do. And if you're going to lose these free agents and rebuild fully, I think it's more effective to do that than try to sell them off and stuff like I don't think you're going to get the value for selling. So I would try to buy and go all in and see what you can do with this group and see if this group can be something you can carry over for the future.
Yeah, I'm in the middle. I think one thing with selling, though, it does seem like a lot of the most recent trades we've seen in the past year or so and this year seems like teams are getting fleeced way too easily. Fleeced, for those of you who don't know, is getting scammed, not getting a good value for what you trade.
Like the Panthers with Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, but I just think most likely the Bucs aren't going to be able to pay for Mike Evans, and they most likely aren't going to be able to pay for Devin White. So I think you might as well get something for them instead of just letting them walk for free. You know what I'm saying?
You might get the next Tom Brady
you
in
might
the 6th round.
You might not get a 1st round pick. I'm saying you could maybe argue it for Mike Evans depending on who's desperate enough. But in reality, you're probably not. You're looking at 3rd to 4th round picks for both of those guys. Maybe a 2nd round. But again, that's better than nothing. That's better than just letting them walk at the end of the year and saying, see ya.
And with Mike Evans, too, this is just off the top of my head. I feel like that would, in a way, be less awkward. Like, just say, hey, we're going to trade you to a successful
winning
team
team
right now. Yeah, and that's kind of an honorable way to let him go.
Yeah, and I'm not going to be, like, mad if they sell, but in my opinion, I think it is more valuable to try to win with this team and see if you have something for the future than the things you get back for trading them. I think that's more valuable, and I think that not experience, but that attempt and try is more valuable than what you could get for these people midseason.
Here's what I would like. Here's what I would like to see the Bucs do this year. Let's follow the template of the Philadelphia Eagles. We had that Super Bowl roster. They kind of aged out a little bit. Some of the stuff wasn't working. They traded the pieces they didn't need, and now they're top of the NFC. And it's only been
but they're going to experience what the Bucs are experiencing right now. Some of those guys are going to either retire.
I mean, but they've done it
or
2
they're
times
just not
now.
going to be able to afford it.
Yeah, but
because they're still in the same season. They were in the Super Bowl last year. They got a lot of guys, and this is their kind of. I bet you this year and maybe next year they just have enough overflow, but it's not going to be a forever type thing or 5 years, 7 years.
well,
thing.
also-
I'm talking about the time that they went and they played the Patriots that Super Bowl.
So
in
you're
2004?
You're saying, like,
what was the Super Bowl?
No,
they played?
16.
Oh,
16.
2008 or 17.
That's the era. So we had that beginning of the era, and they went through a little bit of a stretch of rough times. So they traded away parts, and there's still some of that core from 2016. There's not much now, but there has been.
There is. I mean, I think they have multiple offensive linemen, multiple defense. No, I see your point, Joel. I think, what am I saying? Oh, I like to follow the templates of the Eagles, as in fleecing every single team you trade with. So yeah, I'll follow that template. Seriously, I don't know how they do these trades. They got AJ Brown. They got dirt on people.
Byard, the safety, they kind of he's getting up there in age, so I think that's respectable. But the AJ Brown thing was ridiculous last couple years ago.
Didn't they get DeAndre Swift for a 5th-round pick? They got him for something, and
it wasn't much.
And then that's his name. Javon Carter dropped to number 9 in the draft. That's just
Jalen Carter.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well that's because he had some.
Yes, but still, man, that's
some driving
crazy.
issues.
Should not have happened.
Yeah, but back to
did Chris Olave has driving issues. Saints.
That's the Derek Carr effect, man.
He's
ruining
Chris Olave
receivers
from the Saints. Did you see that
wherever
video?
he goes, yeah.
Dude, that was crazy.
Sorry, man. I'm on the Saints, so please don't arrest me.
Oh man, what a clown.
But anyways, back to buying, because as a fan, and I think you listening at home as a fan go, I don't want them to sell, and neither do I, and I really think they shouldn't, because I just think that this division is so winnable. It's so winnable, and it's right there.
I could really see the Bucs winning a playoff game too.
And I could
really see them winning a playoff.
I could see them winning a playoff game, and I could also see them just maintaining a couple years, like you said, Joel, surviving some of the salary cap hits, staying afloat, not fully tanking and rebuilding, but just staying alive, staying mediocre, fighting for that division, because I don't think this division is going to get that much better in the next 2 to 3 years. I still think the Bucs could easily win it. And I think, too, on the flip side of that, you're not getting Caleb Williams. You're not going to get Drake May. There's no point in selling, because you're not going to get the number 1 quarterback. It's going to go to probably the Bears or maybe even the Broncos.
Panthers.
You can't possibly be that bad enough to get them. So I think do what you can. You can make some small moves, and we're going to get into this, to get a little bit better and just become a solid wild card or NFC South winner. Probably the 4 seed, but you can do just a little bit and easily attain that.
If the playoffs started today, the Bucs would be the 7th seed, so they would be in.
They're in it, and they're right there for first.
And they have an easy schedule. But they got 3 hard games left. All of the rest of them are so winnable.
We don't have to go too far into this, but we have seen success in our area lately. What good is winning a playoff game?
Oh my
goodness! Who cares?
I think I would celebrate more for this playoff game than the Super Bowl. No, that's not true.
Yeah,
but I would love a playoff game with this team. That would be so fun.
Because again, the NFL, the way it works these days, and I know it has a salary cap, but you just see some of these teams who have desperately tried so hard to rebuild, and it just doesn't work. And I don't want to go into the
Texans.
The Texans.
They look like they're on the come up.
The Colts, can they find a quarterback? Because Anthony Richardson's out for the year. That was supposed to be their guy. There's so many teams that have just constantly struggled for years and can't seem to figure it out. And I don't want the Bucs to go nuclear and go Stone Age and we not see them go back to the playoffs for 25 years.
Here, Joel, this is why we need to push for the playoffs. Because we need to show as an organization that we can win games in the current era without Tom Brady. All of our success
that's valid.
since 03 has been all Tom Brady, and we need to show that it was not just Tom Brady, it was the whole organization improving itself. It was Jason Light making better picks. It was all of the players around him. It was the defense. It was the skilled. All of those people. We need to show that we are better off after Brady. That he changed us. He made us a lot better by his presence. But we learned from that. We're not just leeching and going back to our old ways. We need to show that we are better now, and we are going to be a successful NFL franchise for the years to come. That's why we need to go for it this year.
Here's my closing remark. I would rather win the Super Bowl in 4 years than win one playoff game this year and suck afterward because we lost all our pieces.
But again, that's still not guaranteed.
It's not
and
guaranteed.
we still could lose all our pieces and never go back. But that's my point.
Also,
we could still lose our pieces and not go back.
And also, the reason why we
take the bet.
The reason why we won the Super Bowl was not because we tanked. The reason why we won the Super Bowl was because we went 7-9. We played it out. We had a 30-30 Jameis season, but we showed the world that we can compete and hang, and then Tom Brady came. And then it started to circle around him, and people started to buy. We started to finagle the cap, stuff
and
like that.
And we got a bunch of pieces
Yeah.
hate to mention, but
From
Antonio
draft
Brown,
picks.
that was a huge addition.
Yeah.
A huge addition to that team, especially for the Super Bowl run. I'm not going to talk about 2022. That's where I get angry with Jason Light because you need to add some more pieces, and you added 2 dinosaurs in Julio Jones and Kyle Rudolph.
That's the other thing. Like, Jason Light's been great, but, like, there will come a point where it's like, do we want to put these drafts in his hands? Like,
Speaking
how
of
many
adding pieces,
strikes can he have?
He's gotten some good picks.
He's gotten some good ones.
I think his draft.
His draft
I
this year's
still
looking
think
good.
I'm still willing to bet this draft will pan out better than any of the other
He
drafts.
got
he's had.
Tristan Wirfs somehow in the middle of the first round. That was amazing.
Well, that was more of just the idiots in New York,
No, that's
Cleveland, and both New York teams in Cleveland, because I don't know how you could have looked at film and picked any of those tackles before Tristan Wirfs. I'd say Bucs got really lucky. But
All right, I think
All right,
we need to
who,
talk.
who we adding?
Speaking of people I'd like to add, a person that I think we could get for very cheap and could contribute right now to this football team is Kansas City running back Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He's out of LSU. He's a fast, short, stocky running back. He's not getting used a lot because Isaiah Pacheco is an absolute dog and came out of nowhere. But I think his running style and his ability to catch the ball out of the backfield, we saw him do it with Joe Burrow in LSU. We saw him do it in his early years of Kansas City. I think he could very much help our team, and I think he could be a nice change of pace compared to Rashad White.
can he play O-line now? Can he block?
But I think he could get some tough yards
again,
as opposed to Rashad.
that's the sole issue. I think for me personally, one move the Buccaneers should make is they should go to an opponent they had Week 1 of this year. That is the Minnesota Vikings. I think they are way out of even attaining a wild card spot in the NFC. It's just way too tough. And I think there's a young man, a 25-year-old guy named Ezra Cleveland
I have him on my list
for
too.
the Minnesota Vikings. He primarily plays tackle, but the Vikings have put him at guard, and he has been one of the best interior linemen in the NFL. And as a young guy, he's going to come cheap, and the Bucs should go after him immediately. Another guy on the offensive line is Mike Onwenu from the New England Patriots. They seem to have pretty good depth at offensive line, and they are looking to trade a couple pieces. I know they're trading a tackle, but I wouldn't necessarily say we need a tackle. We need interior line. So those are my top 2 guys. I have another one. I'll let somebody else go.
I mean, it's probably the elephant in the room. Let's go get Titans running back Derrick Henry.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
that
Is
would
it going to solve the issue? Maybe not, but come on, let's make a splash.
Dude, Derrick Henry's gonna wear the Oilers throwback this week, and then he's out of the Tennessee.
What a great way to go
That
out.
is a great way to go out. It would be fun. I don't know if he's gonna solve the problems, but it would be fun. I had Ezra Cleveland on my list too. I think he. Will said that he moved from tackle to guard. This was not a recent thing. He's been playing guard for 4 years, so he's got plenty of experience there.
Yeah, he was primarily a tackle
Yeah.
when they drafted him.
Yeah, but he's been guard for a while, and he's a really good lineman, and that's exactly what we need. So that's probably number 1 for me. I did say Clyde Edwards-Helaire because he was the first one I put, but Ezra Cleveland is number 1 for sure. Another guy I'd like to see the Bucs get is Jerry Jeudy. I know he just got called out by Steve Smith. I know he has some attitude problems, but I think Jerry Jeudy could fit along Godwin and Evans a lot like someone we already mentioned this episode, Antonio Brown. I think his route running and his speed could pair very well, and he could give Baker a third option that we've really been lacking this season because Tompkins, Palmer, and Otten really have not been able to produce. And I think if we had someone like Jerry Jeudy, it could really help Baker out and help some if any slant that he could run that we can get the ball out quick is helpful for the offense. So I would like to see Jerry Jeudy. Depends on the price. But anything like a 4th-round pick, I'm taking Jerry Jeudy all day.
You know, I like Jerry Jeudy, and I think the Denver Broncos definitely underutilize his talents because I think he has electric speed. We saw what he could do in college, and I know he's battled some injuries, but I think I agree with you. He's a solid receiver, needs some speed they need. But before I got receiver, I'd say what we have been saying is let's see more Trey Palmer first. In my opinion, I think we got to go defense, and this is kind of a shot in the dark because, again, maybe they'll trade him, maybe not. But I would love to see the Bucs fix a need, and that is at safety. I think if you could go after Budda Baker, from the Arizona Cardinals. That would be huge. He is a leader amongst men, and he can play. He flies around. He's physical, and I think him next to Antoine Winfield, I don't think you could name a better safety duo in the league. I think another guy like that who might actually realistically be on the chopping block or trading block is Justin Simmons from the Denver Broncos. I think he would be a great addition as well for that safety spot.
I'm with you. I would like either one of those guys.
From what we've seen from the safety performance this year, anything would be better.
Yep. Yeah, I think another guy, just to throw it in, I think another guy the Bucs could consider trading if they don't bump him into the starting spot is D. Delaney. I think he's just not being used, and it's good to have that depth, but I think if we could flip him for something positive, if he's not going to be used, I think that would be a valuable thing for the Bucs to do.
How about this one? This one's crazy. I'll probably upset the room, but that's what sports talk's for. What if we traded Baker Mayfield to the Jets and let our Gator friends be the star of the show?
Do the Jets want him though?
I don't. Just we're just talking.
I mean,
sports.
if they're willing to suffer with Zach Wilson,
I mean,
don't know if
it's
they're
an
gonna go
upgrade.
Baker.
I thought you guys.
I
would
would
be
say it'd be
more
an upgrade, but
I'm not that opposed to that. Depends on how these next. But that's the problem. It feels like
there's just more issues first to fix than Baker Mayfield, in my opinion.
I'm not saying that we're fixing it. I'm just saying let's go get a draft pick.
We could
But even if they got they're not going to get a
give me a
first.
third.
They could I think we could coax the Jets into giving us a second for Baker Mayfield, which would be crazy.
I'd say a third.
It's desperate times for them. They need to make the playoffs with this.
But you know who
roster
the
and get to
Jets
A-Rod.
want? The Jets want Kirk Cousins.
That's true.
Secretly, quietly, the Jets would
sure.
love to get Kirk Cousins.
Well,
first they
if
love
we put
Brady
him up,
coming
we'd
out
make
of
a good
retirement.
plan B.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't want to see him go, but I'll take a third-round pick.
Yeah, it's an interesting proposition. I wouldn't be heartbroken if we got a third-round pick for Baker.
And when we see what the other guy is looking like in the regular season, it seems like a win-win.
I would be because I'm
Cal Trask. Sorry, I forgot your name.
I'm starting to love Baker.
No, I like it.
It's
not my priority, but I'm not gonna come up here and say it was the worst decision we ever made if we get rid of Baker Mayfield at the deadline. But I don't think it's gonna happen. I think we're baking all season. But yeah,
I don't think anybody
that's
would
some
win.
of our thoughts. I think we already mentioned Devin White and Mike Evans are the biggest two names to see. They're both on expiring contracts, and they both might go, they might stay. I don't know. It depends on what the Bucs think about and what they think their future is going to look like this season. So just keep your eye on those rumors. You might see both of them go. You might see one of them go. You might see one of them stay. We really don't have any idea, but those are the two big ones that we already kind of mentioned. But those are the two biggest selling points for the Bucs.
Yeah, I think those would be the two biggest options because you don't really have. I mean, outside of I'd say the best guy you have for value would be Tristan Wirfs, but I don't think there's really any trade anybody could make that would be worth what he is.
Or
to
Antoine
the Bucs.
Winfield, he's on an expiring contract, but I
Antoine
think
Winfield's up there. But I'm saying Wirfs.
He deserves to get paid.
Wirfs, man, nothing would come close to what
right.
they deserve for him.
I would like to keep Warfield around.
I'd say maybe thinking about it, Jack Barrett could be a trading piece if they were to sell because you have JTS who's younger. You want to get him more playing time, and then right behind him, Yaya Diaby.
He's looked solid.
He's got a lot of playing time, so you could argue that they have a little bit of depth there, and maybe because you already have William Golston too. He doesn't see the field that much at all, but not that you're going to get value, but you have the depth there if you were to trade him for some pieces. So I'd say maybe Shaq Barrett, depending on how they go. So that's another one.
Yeah, I think Devin White is one where I think we can trade Devin White and still be on a playoff push because I do think we have a very deep linebacker room that you throw in Savache, you throw in what's his name? The dude who plays special teams. Oh my gosh.
Britt?
Yeah, Britt. You throw in Britt there. I think you can get the same type of production from them. So if they trade Devin White and get something, they could even flip Devin White for something that could help them in a position of need. So I think that's not going to be something where it's like a full wholesale if they trade Devin White. But I do think if they trade Mike Evans, we are going to see a lot of pieces go, and the Bucs start to kind of tank in the second half of the season. But that's just me.
Yeah, I think.
I wonder if people would really want Devin White.
He sure is making it hard. But I think somebody
I
would
think other
definitely
teams
take
hype
him.
him up, so
Yeah.
someone might take him.
So a huge part of this trade deadline is the Bucs' performance this week, Thursday Night Football on Prime. Al Michaels, washed up, by the way. Kirk Herbstreit, a legend, by the way. Al Michaels is a legend, but I can't stand him these days. I really do not like his commentating style right now. But he's a legend. I respect him, and I love Kirk Herbstreit, so he makes up for it. But Bucs head into Orchard Park to play the Buffalo Bills. One of the toughest games on the Bucs schedule.
It's going to be a chilly night.
And it's going to be probably
probably
pretty
gonna be
chilly.
cold,
Hopefully
yeah.
not snowy, though, so that's good.
That would be
Crazy.
kind of cool,
It would,
actually.
the Bucs would lose, automatically if it snows. So that stinks. But Bills are a formidable team. Both of them are coming off really bad losses. The Bills lost to the Patriots this week, which is bad in the year 2023. We talked about how bad the Bucs loss was, so that's obvious. The Bills are they have a 4-3 record, but it's kind of a mystery because they have the 3rd scoring offense in the NFL and the 5th scoring defense in the NFL. The problem is Josh Allen has been very turnover prone. He has 9 turnovers in 7 games, so the Bucs need to capitalize on that. And the offense has to come to play. We're going to need at least 24 points to win this game, maybe 30. You're going to have to, maybe 28. You're going to have to show up on offense to win this game. So it's going to be a tough one, but I don't know.
You never know, though, because you go back to the first game of the season, and the Jets didn't have to score a whole lot to win that game.
And the Giants. Well, the Giants held them, but they
And
lost.
the Giants.
So, yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to score a whole lot. Well, should they have lost, though? That was kind of a questionable call at the end of the game.
We're not in MetLife for this game. Both those games were in MetLife. Is there a curse?
Maybe.
I don't know. No,
wasn't that game? I'm pretty sure that game was in Buffalo.
Oh, you're right. The
was
Giants
in Buffalo,
game was in Buffalo. You're right. My bad.
Yeah, so I'm thinking, what's been the one thing in those games where teams didn't have to score a whole lot to win the game or get it close is forcing turnovers. And we've seen Josh Allen. I think he's a great quarterback, probably top 10 in the league, but that guy can throw a lot of picks. So this needs to be a big day for the secondary and starts up front, getting some good pressure like we say, as always. But if we can get Josh Allen to throw some picks, you don't have to score a whole lot because we've seen how much the Bills can struggle at times.
Carlton Davis, you seem to play better when you're playing against good receivers. Make your money's worth. Slow down Stephon Diggs. I know you can do it. You're a good cover corner. So this is going to probably bode better for you because you're just going to play coverage as opposed to having to tackle in space. So do a good job on Stephon Diggs. I'm looking for a big game from you, Carlton Davis, because the last 2 have been pretty mediocre.
Yeah, and another target they will not have is Dawson Knox. He will need surgery, and that is a Bills tight end. So it'll be on Dalton Kincaid, the rookie, the Bills' first-round pick. So that's one less target you got to worry about on the defense. It's really, can you shut down Diggs and can you shut down Gabe Davis? And I think the Bucs have 2 solid cornerbacks that can do just that. But you got to force turnovers. And we've seen this year when the Bucs can lead the turnover battle and win that, it bodes very well for them, and they can win easily. So that's kind of the biggest thing. Like always, not always on the defense completely, but this week it really is. You gotta make the Bills turn the ball over to give yourself a chance.
So what's your score, William?
Well, before we get to that, let's just look at last week. All 3 of us picked the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to beat the Falcons.
My bad.
No, you were helping them.
Joel, you said 24-13. Colby said 27-20. I said 17-13.
Wow, that was close.
And for a minute there, the stars were aligned. It was the last drive. They were down 13-10. I'm like,
that stinks.
I'm going to get the score, dude, and I'm going to be so hyped to talk about this. But they let me down, and they lost. But I was close. I was so close. The Bucs let me down. Anyways, yeah, so none of us got a point for that in our prediction game. This week, it is going to be tough. The Bills are coming off after a loss, and I just think the Bucs haven't shown me enough for me to fully say with confidence that they'll win. So I think the Bills win this game 31-17.
Well, that's bad news. For me, it's short week. There's a lot of things we need to improve on. This is I think this is one of our first cold weather games. Like, I'm not the weatherman looking at the weather, but new environment for us, rowdy fans, and worst of all, the Bills lost last week, and they're going to look to take it out on a mediocre Tampa Bay Buccaneers team. So, with that, we are losing this game 20-13.
Hey, close game, though.
It's a close game, but it'll break our hearts.
Yeah. I will say one thing, guys.
You got to be positive.
The
Someone's
Tampa Bay
got to play
Buccaneers
some devil's
are
advocate.
Jolly
2
Roger, do
and
you wanna
0
win?
on the road and 1-3 at home. So they're heading to the road where they've been stronger this year. Is this is a short week? Get that all past your head. Get right back to playing football. This is the time. Can you shock the world? Can you make this a statement win in prime time for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Will they do it? No.
Oh, your positivity was rubbing off on me so much.
The Bills are going to win 31-20. But I do think the Bucs are going to hang in there. But I don't think they're going to win.
Man,
but
that
I
was a
do think
letdown.
this game we can build off of and hopefully win a couple in a row after.
Yeah, and don't get too bogged down. Don't get depressed. Root for the Buccaneers. This is the NFL. It's any given Thursday, and sometimes teams come out flat. The Bills, they might be the better team, but they can look really flat.
They
And this
can.
Bucs team
They
can
actually,
take advantage of
The Bucs
it.
are notoriously bad at playing bad teams. So I don't know if the Bucs are bad enough to get the Bills, but maybe they can act bad enough to trick the Bills into playing bad.
And look,
It's the battle of the coin flip.
it's any given Thursday. The Bucs have a chance. Make sure to watch. It's not on national TV. It is on Amazon Prime. So don't go to the sports bar or B-dubs or anything like that. It's not going to be on TV there. You got to watch at home. Amazon Prime. That will be at 8:15 p.m. And I think
It's time to make a new email, guys, because you need your trial.
Or just go on Stream East if you.
Stream East, Front Row Sports. You know the deal.
I got ripped off so bad one of the times I did
Stream
that.
East, just don't click the links. Just
I had
go
to
right
change my
back to
credit
it.
card
Close.
numbers.
Close the tab. Close the
Dude.
tabs.
I did it at school. I used one of those websites, and the school security locked me out of my laptop. And that was like the most embarrassing thing. I went to illegal and unsafe sites in front of the security team. But it was just sports. It was just a preseason
You only
game.
got caught watching sports. That's it. That's all we get caught for in the TB3 podcast on our computers is
I
watching
only watch
sports. Only sports.
Sometimes illegally.
Yeah, hey guys, you know it's free? The radio. Listen to Gene Deckerhoff call this one.
Yeah.
Oh,
There you
yeah,
go.
98 Rock.
Yeah.
Gene Deckerhoff, fire the cannons, get them going, touchdown Tampa Bay. But I
Man.
think that's enough Bucs talk.
Yeah.
We've talked the Bucs.
We knew we were
For a
going
minute
long.
now. We
'cause
knew,
got,
yeah,
we
we
had,
had to
a
get some
bunch of
stuff in.
But also, let's go from one radio legend, Gene Deckerhoff, to another radio legend, Dave Mishkin. Because we're talking Bolts, baby.
Lightning!
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. There we go. We're talking Lightning, and we're talking a pretty disappointing, but not terrible week. And all 3 games, the Lightning got a point. Now, they did lose 2 of them, but that's okay. Because your Tampa Bay Lightning had 3 games last week. And one of them, and we started off
We
with
were
our last.
filming.
Yeah, we were filming during this game. So you might
Spoiler
have a
alert.
little. Yep, you might have a little PTSD from what we were talking about. But the Lightning finished off their road trip in Buffalo, and they had a very bad first period. The Sabres got 2 quick goals in the first period, went 2-0. The Lightning defense looked like it was Swiss cheese the way they were slicing it up. It was bad. But then there was a fight in the second period. Austin Watson absolutely beat someone up. It was amazing. I got the boys fired
Looked
up.
like Dylan Dennis, Logan Paul and
There
Dylan
you
Dennis.
go. Yep, just like that. And, I mean, it got the boys fired up, and the defense tightened up, and the boys started to fight back. In the second period, Brandon Hagel got a goal to cut the lead in half. And then, with 7 seconds left, Brandon Hagel, a scrum in front of the net, taps it in. The Lightning have tied this game and have secured a point, which is pretty big in hockey. And we're going to overtime. And unfortunately, in overtime, the Lightning have had a tendency to be very sloppy with the puck, and they were not able to possess the puck good. And there was one shot that went off the post after a giveaway, and that just tilted the ice in the Sabres' favor. And Dylan Cozens, I think that's his name, got the overtime winning goal. The Buffalo Sabres won 3-2. However, the Lightning are back home sweet home. And beautiful Amalie Arena on a Thursday night hosting the Vancouver Canucks. And this game, the boys kind of translated their second and third period over to the beginning of the game. As in the first period, Nick Paul got another power play goal. This guy has been on a goal tear to start the season. You'll love to see it. But unfortunately, the Lightning have been susceptible to quick bursts this early season, as the Vancouver Canucks get 2 goals in 45 seconds, and these come from Brock Besser and Mr. Myers, and that puts them up 2-1. But the Lightning were able to respond.
6 seconds into the second period, they started the scoring.
Yes, this was the Lightning a couple times, which we'll get to, have been kind of get on these runs where they just can't stop a team, and they've been punished for them. But later on in the second period, Mikey Esamont gets his first goal of the season to tie this game back up, and then a minute later, so the Lightning go on a little bit of their own run, Cooch gets another goal, puts the Lightning up 3-2, and then in the third period, Cooch on the power play, 4-2 Lightning. And then it got a little scary as the Canucks pulled their goalie, and they were going to town on the Lightning. JT Miller got a goal to cut it to 4-3. There was a lot of opportunities. Jonas Johansson stood tall in that net, and the Lightning escaped this with a 4-3 victory against the Canucks. And oh man, the Lightning hosted the Maple Leafs on Saturday in a playoff rematch, and the boys came out fired up. However, so did the Maple Leafs, as William Nylander got them on the board 1-0 to start the first period, and then the barrage ensued as the Lightning score 3 straight goals. This starts off with another Cooch goal, makes it 1-1, and then Alex Barré-Boulet, the young stud who's looked really good, gets his first goal of the season to make it 2-1, and then, who else? Cooch with a 3-1 goal on the power play. Again, 2 power play goals for Cooch to make it 3-1 Lightning.
And that was the game, right? They win, the Lightning go home,
they have
fans are happy.
They have a 2-goal lead. They got to hold this. However, second period, we got no goals. We'll take that as a Lightning fan. And then in the third period, we're getting down to the nitty-gritty of the game, and twice in the span of 2 minutes, Matthew Knies scores a goal. This game is tied up 3-3, and we go to overtime, and the puck control is lackluster again, and the captain, John Tavares, gets the overtime winner. The Maple Leafs win 4-3. It's giving us all flashbacks to the first-round series last year, but that's okay. It's only October. So the Lightning, if you were listening, went 1-0-2 last week.
And that puts them at 2-2-2 on the season. So far, even slate at exactly 500. It's a little frustrating. It's been a little frustrating. I know it's early in the season, but I'm still seeing some things that bother me that they haven't gotten over from last season. One, I'd say, is the defensive turnovers and allowing quick goals. I think you saw that not so much quick goals in the first game against Buffalo, but an abysmal first period that led to a 2-0 game. And I think that after that Austin Watson fight, which really got the team energized, and you could see them battle it out, Nikita Kucherov, so many scoring opportunities, Brandon Hagel, so many scoring opportunities, and he put a couple in, one descent to overtime. But still, at the end of the day, you play like that the entire game, you win that easily. But instead, you give yourself a 2-goal deficit. You have to battle all the way back till the final second, and then it's a toss-up in overtime, and you can't get it done. So that bothers me. Then we look at the next game against the Canucks. They win the game. I'm happy about that. But like we said, the 2 quick goals were within 13 seconds of it. It was only 45 seconds, and right off the rip to start the second period. It wasn't deep into it. It was right off the rip. And then we look at the game again where 2 goals. You're up 3-1. You got to put them away. You just got to. And you give up 2 quick goals again. So it's very frustrating. Glad they could come out with a win and a point in overtime, but should have been better. Should have been way better. Should have at least been 2-1, if not 3-0, in my opinion.
It's something we're not used to as Lightning fans because we back in the day, like not back in the day, but like last year, let's say, we were just used to it. Like if you had a 2-goal lead, the game was over. Like that was our joke. Not to ruin our joke, but we were joking. The game wasn't over nowadays. Like a 2-goal lead isn't what it used to be. Like it's part of that because we don't have the A+ Vasilevsky we've had over the years. Maybe that's some of it, but also we just don't have that lockdown mentality anymore. And I can almost guarantee you it'll come back at some point in the season. But it's hard to keep that mentality year after year after year. And, I mean, maybe this hockey's beginning to wear on the players. It's just something interesting to look at. Like, we have a lot of the same players. We have the same coaching. But we don't quite have that, like, just lockdown. We're going to play this game hard all the way for 60 minutes. Like, we're playing a little lackluster here, but then we're playing hard at other moments. So right now we're just kind of struggling to play 100% of the game.
Yeah, well, I think the one thing is it's not really not having Vasilevsky. I think you got to pin this all on the defense. I think they were talking about it on the radio that Jonas Johansson, who's young, he leads the NHL in saves. Well, that's not really a good thing because you don't want that because that's a lot of shots on net. And I think somebody you have to pinpoint, I hate to do it, is Mikhail Sergachev because both goals in the Vancouver game in the second period were off of bad turnovers. And in the game-tying goal in Toronto was yet again another bad turnover by Sergachev. And you just got to play better defense. I know we've been kind of hoping that guy would turn up, and now he's going in the opposite direction. We need that guy. We need him to step up. And you just can't be lackluster with the puck. You got to clear it out, and you got to be smart with it, especially when it's in your zone. You can't be sloppy with it.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of neutral zone turnovers too, so that goes on the forwards and the centers too. But yes, there's been some really bad defensive zone turnovers. And something about this Lightning season so far is it seems like when the ice is tilted towards their favor, they're not cashing in as much as they normally do. And when the ice is not going their way, when the game is not going their way, they're absolutely imploding. Like these runs that I was talking about, the 2 goals in 2 minutes, 2 goals in 45 seconds, 2 goals in the first period, absolutely dominated. These runs have been way more deadly than what the Lightning have done when they've been playing better hockey.
Exactly.
So it's something where I think it's kind of a little bit luck and a little bit you gotta finish your chances. Like there was plenty of chances where the Lightning could easily have gotten an extra goal or stuff like that, and they're just not burying that goal. There was one in Vancouver that could have made it 5-2, I'm pretty sure, where Anthony Cirelli had a wide open one-timer, and you just let it kind of roll off his stick, and he missed an open net.
He had 2 that were on shorthanded plays when the other teams were on the power play. There was one in Buffalo that he missed, and then one in Vancouver that he missed as well. And that's not going to be a guaranteed thing every time, but when stuff like that happens in a game, you got to capitalize. And I think they were lucky to get away with the win in Vancouver. But yeah, you gotta capitalize. And I think even looking back to Nashville, like they basically were on the power play the entire third period, and they still gave up a goal to Nashville, and they still made that game pretty sketchy late. So yeah, when they get hot and when they're playing hot, you gotta capitalize a little bit more and make the most of those opportunities.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's something that's going to come as the season ramps up. I think the fact that they're like, for example, Buffalo. The Sabres dominated the first period. The Lightning dominated the second and third. However, Buffalo got 2 in the first, and the Lightning were only able to muster 2 over 2 periods of domination. So,
you spot them, too, on top of that by playing pretty bad in the first period.
That's what I'm saying. Just the way that the goals have been translating to the play on the ice is not really how it's going to stay. I think as the season progresses, it's going to even out where the Lightning, when they're dominating the ice, they're going to get more goals and they're going to get more wins. So I'm not exactly worried. I think giveaways and goalie play are the 2 things that are going to take your momentum away. And goalie play hasn't been terrible, but it's not obviously. I think there's obviously been some goals that gone in that I bet Vazzy would have saved just naturally because Vazzy's the best in the league. But turnovers and takeaways have been a problem. And if they clean that up in their neutral zone, in their zone, they're gonna these periods that they dominate, they're going to get rewarded for them. That's my thing.
Yeah, and it's early, but like you said, we've seen this kind of been an issue late last year, and now it's kind of creeping back into this season.
That was a problem in Toronto. I feel like we dominated sloppy defensive play, and we dominated a lot of periods, especially those games at home that we lost, especially Game 6. I feel like we dominated this whole game, and then 10 minutes in the third period comes, and we're only up by 1. We should be up by 2 or 3, and they get the tying goal, and then it goes to overtime, and then that's a toss-up. Like Will said, that's a toss-up. It's a crapshoot, if you will, in overtime, especially 3-on-3, but any overtime hockey. That's why it's amazing, but you don't want to get there if you've been dominating the game.
And we've seen this over the course of this, may I say, dynasty? I think we need another cup.
It's a dynasty.
I think it's a dynasty,
I think we need another cup.
If the Astros are a dynasty, the Lightning are a dynasty.
I would say it's an era, maybe at this point. We'll see. We'll see in 10 years what they're saying. But we've seen this team, like, they have been able to overcome so many different adversities, and it's good to have this kind of adversity early on in the season. Like, we can't just rely on Vasilevsky right now, so it's going to polish up this defense sooner than later. And of all the teams out there, I have faith in this coaching staff more than probably any other Tampa Bay team. So it's good to get some of this adversity in the season now. And then when it comes playoff time, we're not going to be like the Boston Bruins of last year. Like, if you guys remember, they barely lost a game the whole year.
Or the Lightning of 2019.
Yeah, the Lightning. You see, both teams. I mean, it's like copy paste.
It was.
So both of these teams don't have a single flaw in the entire season. And then the second they stub their toe on the hockey rink, they're done. So let's get through this adversity now. It's going to strengthen our defense in the long run. And it's great to see the goalie playing as good as he's been playing, because it answers a great question of who is going to be the backup goaltender this season.
Speaking of Boston, they haven't lost a game this year either, so they're on the same trajectory next year. That's
Losing in the first round.
I love it.
Yeah, that's funny. But yeah, I think what was I going to say? Oh, a prayer was answered for all of us, because we were talking about how Steven Stamkos missed a game because of his lower body injury. But he was back Thursday for Vancouver, so nothing serious for Stammer. He's been pretty good. He hasn't been as good as Cooch, who's been absolutely amazing in Hart Trophy watch for sure.
So what I heard about Cooch is that they're telling him to take more shots at the net this year.
I heard that too.
Not as much passing.
He's a good shooter, man. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, to get into the meat of it, he's good. Like, we're not surprised by this at all that Cooch is good, but this week in particular was just unreal. Crazy. 4 goals, 1 assist, and 21 shots. He's definitely our Lightning player of the week, and he's just been making so many plays and putting the defensive lines of the other team on skates, even though they already are on skates, but really making them work. I think, man, the best play he had wasn't even a goal. I don't know if you saw it, but he dangles it between both of the defenders.
That was nasty, dude.
Defenders megs one of them and puts a beautiful shot on net. It just didn't go in.
That was against Vancouver, right?
Yeah, and I was like, that was his best play. He scored 4 of the goals. That one wasn't even a goal, and that was his best play. So, yeah, just an amazing week by him. But he can't do it all. We need a lot of other guys to step up. Thinking about Jeannot, Sheary, Anthony Cirelli. Gotta compete and add on to the goals, because it just seems like this week it was really just Kucherov and
Nick Paul.
Nick Paul early and
Hagel,
and that's about it.
Yeah.
So
it's
other guys got to step up.
They do. I think Sherry's due, man. I was watching earlier. Spoiler alert: we recorded on Tuesday, so we saw another Lightning game. But we locked in our picks before the game, because there's only 2 games, and we wanted to make sure we had good picks for you guys. However, I was watching Connor Sheary play earlier, and he was all over the place. He was having nice setups. He was finding the net, finding the puck. So he's due, I think. And another player that's really impressed me is Alex Barley-Boulet.
Yeah,
he's doing really well. He's always been a talented prospect, and this is his second year up with the Lightning, and he seems to be way more comfortable. He does have a tendency to kind of get his passes intercepted, which I think he'll work on. But he's flying. He's very skilled. He's fast. He's flying over, and it's kind of the youthful jolt. Him and Isimont are the youthful jolt that we really need for this team.
Yeah, not only do I like his play on the ice, I love saying his last name, Barry Boulet. That's like a jersey. That's a jersey cop right there.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of a sick jersey. But yeah, it seems like we've seen this front office make so many great picks and build up so many good prospects. So,
Underrated farm system.
yeah, we're hoping he's going to be the next one because, yeah, he was a good spark that they've needed. And I think we're still kind of have a bitter taste in our mouth of losing Ross Colton. So if these guys can step up, you'd love to see it.
And we're going to need to save some money if we are signing Stamkos, which we should.
Yeah, pay the man.
Mike Evans, see you later. Stamkos, I need you.
I can agree with that.
I need you so much.
Yeah, that'd be actually
You've
good.
You've been on this team since I was 12 years old.
That'd be a good poll if you people listening would respond to it. But we'd love to hear what the fans have to say.
Yeah,
would
just
you
if
rather
you-
have Evans or Stamkos?
If you click on my Instagram story, look and see if there's a poll, because we like to see what you guys vote for on the poll. So if you're listening to this and you look at a TB3 Instagram story, which I see you guys do, I see it all the time.
we got like 30 likes on
Yes.
the clip that was posted.
Yes, I
today,
see
so
all these people.
You're interacting.
I see all these people view the story and they just don't click the link, the poll, and I'm like, all right, guys, come on, just it's one tap. It's one. You contemplate it for like 10 seconds and then you tap. That's it. Not
we
even
just
10
want to
seconds.
get your response. We
We
just
just
want to
wanna
see how
know.
the fans are thinking.
Yeah.
Because we're fans too, but maybe we have different opinions from everybody else. Maybe it's something different. So, love to see that. That's a random thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, that's
Well,
all. That's all I got. Let's talk.
I got
it.
one thing. I was
One
doing
thing.
my deep dive of the week for the Tampa Bay Lightning, and I was a little upset about the 2 losses in overtime this week, and it gave me a bitter taste thinking about the numerous overtime losses in the playoffs last year. So I did some digging. And the Lightning, since December 3rd of 2022, are 3-11 in overtime.
Wow. That's
the
horrible.
only 3 wins they had were not in regulation overtime. They were in shootouts.
That's crazy.
All 3 were shootouts. So I know it's early in the year, but is it kind of concerning that the Lightning just can't seem to win in overtime, especially in the regular season 3-on-3 format?
This will be a cop-out, but Vasilevsky wasn't Vasilevsky last year, and those shots are coming at him with a little bit more pressure. So I think that's could be part of that bad record.
Well, I just think the Lightning have too many skilled players like Kucherov, Stamkos, Point in a 3-on-3 overtime to keep losing. I think they're just getting a little bit too loosey-goosey with the puck in overtime, and I think that has been their downfall a lot because once someone has a puck in 3-on-3, they usually get a good scoring chance before the other team gets the puck. So if you have one turnover, that just makes it so you have to play defense and be on the defense for the 3-on-3 attacking team for at least a minute or so. So
Yeah,
Just-
I'd like to see the face-offs in that too,
Yeah,
because face-offs are.
Well, with the
gigantic.
3-on-3 too, there's a lot more open ice and a lot more action. Do you think speed has anything to do with it? Do you think this team is lacking maybe in
I
some
don't-
speed?
I don't think so. But I just think the skill should overcome for that. Like Braden Point's one of the fastest player in the NHL. He should be dominating 3-on-3 overtime. Kucherov, with all that space, he's got the world at his fingertips, at the tip of his stick with all the things he could do in overtime. Stamkos is a little bit more suited for 5-on-5 play. But, I mean, even players like Brandon Hagel should be dominating in 3-on-3 overtime. Victor Hedman's always been a good defenseman because he has all these lanes to shoot in on 3-on-3. So I don't think so. I think it's just a little bit of lackluster puck control and unlucky, honestly, for overtime.
Yeah, it was just something I looked into because, I was
We'd
a
like
little
to see
upset
an
about the
overtime win, though, in the next 2 weeks.
In regulation, no shootouts.
Yeah.
Let's see a solid overtime win by your Tampa Bay Lightning. We'd love to see it.
Get me to scream at the top of my lungs.
And Dave Michigan on the radio.
Oh yeah.
I think
I saw one of the last overtime wins in person then, because I went to a game last November and they won in overtime against the Dallas Stars. So I might have seen one of the last Lightning
you might need to
overtime
get out
wins.
to a game
That's
then
what
soon.
I'm thinking, maybe.
TB3 game.
No,
at
we'll
the-
for sure. So
At
Lightning,
Amalie?
Lightning, lower your tickets, man. Like, come on.
they had a couple of cheap games.
They
There was a
did?
couple
I
where
bet-
they were
yeah.
like $20, and I was like,
That's good.
we got to hit that
I
up.
think I'm a ticket buying aficionado.
You are.
I think I could probably snag us some cheap tickets on the low. So we'll see. Yeah, we definitely want to get to some games. Maybe we'll do a little contest, bring a fan with us to the game.
That'd be awesome.
We'll see.
Hey, Ethan, you won.
I was thinking like, okay, the way to do that, because we're not big yet. I'd like to be. So you do something like we have like a code word in the pod, like a random spot in it. And then, so you got to listen to the whole thing to find it, or at least up until that point. We're not going to put it like the beginning or the end so people can cheat. It's going to be like, the halfway point or like 45 minutes, and you gotta listen for it or something. So.
I like it.
That's cool.
That's like which of our friends.
You can watch us at 3 speed. It's okay.
Which one of our friends likes us the most?
Yeah, which one of our friends is listening closely enough? Or a random person. We'll take a random person. There's a few.
I would take a random person.
I don't care.
That's how best somebody
friends are
new's
made.
listening.
Yeah.
And I love new listeners.
There is actually a lot of new listeners if you look at YouTube. Shout out the YouTube community. You showed up this week.
Yeah, you did.
All right, so let's predict, man. Let's get
let's
this.
predict. Well, we got to look back to last week in the 3, or I guess we only predicted 2. We did not predict the overtime loss to the Sabres. So we shall look at it from the Canucks and Toronto Maple Leafs game. I went 2 for 2. I said they'd go 1-1 in those 2 games, and I picked Nick Paul to get me a goal. Joel, you also said 1-1.
And I got the Maple Leafs loss right. Not that it matters.
Yeah, I think so. I just didn't want them to lose. That's why I said they won't. And you picked Hagel, who got a couple goals, so we both got 2 points there. Colby,
The Lightning sold me last
Mr.
week.
Jolly Roger, the Lightning.
I was looking great with a 3-1 lead in the third period with 10
Yeah.
minutes left, and then they just blew it. Oh,
They
my
did.
gosh.
They really let you down. But yeah, you said 2-0, and Essimont would
No, I said Braden.
or
Point.
Braden Point. Sorry, I'm looking ahead.
Yeah.
Braden Point would get you the goal. And he
That's
did
why I
not,
said this week the Lightning will go 2-0, and Mikey Essimont's going to get a goal.
Yes, Mr. Jolly Roger again 2-0. I'd love to see that, but I think they're kind of a team of mediocrity right now. So
Just
I'm
wait
sticking.
till December. We're coming out
Yeah, we'll just
blazing.
wait. I'm thinking 1-1, and Anthony Sarelli will get me a goal. Joel, what about you?
I said 1-1, and I said Hedman, right?
Yeah.
Mr. Hedman's going to get me a goal.
All I'm saying is
Preferably an overtime winner.
I'm breaking the fourth wall, but the Lightning won tonight, and this was their hard game against the Hurricanes. They got
So
the
now-
Sharks at home, so I'm saying 2-0 looks pretty good right now.
Yeah, 2-0 does look good. Huge win. Can't wait to talk about that next week. But I think it's time to move on to my favorite part of the week, just because we've seen a little too many losses around here.
Talk about some W's.
But we get to talk about your hometown team, the USF Fighting Bulls, go up to Connecticut, way up in the Northeast, and face a perennially bad team and the UConn Huskies, and they come away with a win. It was close. It might not have been pretty, but they come away with a win. How are we feeling about it?
Well, I've always said that I bleed green and gold. I've said that my weekend hinges on if USF wins or not. I've said that, of course, in the past of this podcast.
And that not even on the podcast,
Yes.
like all the
Oh,
time.
all the time. That's all I talk about is USF Bulls football. A little sarcastic, but I did. I watched all of this game. I didn't realize that UConn head coach is former UCLA head coach Jim Mora, so I think they're trying to build up their football program. So good for them. However, what I saw was a huge bounce back game for the USF defense. They held UConn to 21 points. They forced turnovers. They did all this stuff. They had one interception that was called back with a BS call, bull shark. So, great job by the defense to bounce back.
Yeah, I was driving up to Tallahassee, which we'll get to in a little bit. I can't
yeah.
wait. I can't wait. But yeah, I didn't get to watch this game. Rooting for the Bulls as always. Bleed green and gold as well. But yeah, I think the biggest thing is they're 2 wins away. They are 2 wins away from going bowling, ladies and gentlemen. And after last year, if you watched it, or maybe you didn't because it was so bad, what a turnaround. What a turnaround. I mean, I'm even happy at this point that they're 4-4 headed into the bye week. But yeah, they're 2 wins away, and let's get it. Let's get it. Let's go bowling.
I mean, just saying that's crazy. 4-4 for the Bulls.
Yeah.
Yeah, you cannot thank Alex Golish enough for what he's done to the program. Willing to take a job that was definitely tough. It wasn't the easiest, wasn't even close to being the easiest job out there, and it definitely might have been the hardest job, but he's done a great job. He's got those guys to buy into the program, and winning solves a lot, and it brings in a lot of recruits, and you're going to have guys who want to come be a part of a winning program.
So what I heard was USF, I think, has the first or second highest recruiting class of all non-Power 5 teams coming in. So this is hashtag come to the Bay. So this is Alex Golesh.
To the Bay.
Alex Golesh is doing a great job on the field, and he's doing a great job building the program. And I said the defense forced some turnovers. I need to get you guys the number because it was 4 turnovers they forced. 3 fumbles, 1 interception, including a forced fumble on UConn's final drive to seal the game, an absolute rip out of the ball like he was a little boy, and that was great. Also, Florida Gator legend Naquan Wright had an absolutely fantastic game with 26 carries and 186 yards. He knows it's Florida-Georgia week. He was one of the biggest reasons we beat Georgia in 2020 with all those wheel routes, but he was doing it on the ground this week. Great game from him. Solid game from Byron Brown. I'd like to see a little bit more from him, especially coming up this week in a tough game at Memphis. But great game from the defense and the running game, this one.
Let's just start measuring Golish. Just, get all his sizes just so when we do the statue, it'll be really easy.
All right. There we go.
Put up a statue.
Put in a statue of the current coach for the opening day of your new
That was
stadium.
what I was thinking.
I could see it. That would be awesome. Yeah, that's about it. I mean, yeah, it was not pretty. USF trailed 21-10 with 12 minutes left in the fourth quarter. It was a frustrating game from the offense. They just kept stalling. They weren't able to get the first down to get their hurry up offense going. But they found a way in the end to drive the ball twice in the fourth quarter and get touchdowns. So good on them. It's a huge win because if you lose this game, like we said, it was a must-win game, and they needed to win this game. They went on the road to do it. So good job, USF.
Yeah, I think one big takeaway for me is that losing is easy. Especially when you get blown out 2 weeks in a row, it's easy to head into this game with not a lot of hope and not a lot of excitement after getting the brakes beaten off of you 2 weeks in a row to pretty mediocre teams. So to be able to turn it around, get those guys to believe, and to fight till the very end, not give up, not quit, that speaks volumes. And this could be another statement win for them that decides how they do the rest of the season. And it's perfect going into the bye week, absolutely perfect. And now you got some more time to get these guys to relax, recover, and start preparing for the rest of the American Athletic Conference schedule they got coming up, and a big matchup in 2 weeks against Memphis. So we'll be looking forward to
bye week this week?
Yeah, they do have a bye week this
week. I missed
week.
That.
So it comes at the perfect time, in my opinion. But yeah, playing Memphis is a big game. We'll get into that next week. But yeah, I think that's kind of all we have to say.
It is nice to simmer in a win.
Bulls. Let's actually see how we did though, because we always do predictions.
I said they lose. I'm sorry, Bulls.
You said USF's
I don't
losing?
think.
I thought you picked USF.
I think I said they lose.
We all picked USF.
I picked them?
We all picked
in my heart,
USF to win.
I was picking UConn.
We all believed. Jolie said 31-13. Colby said 35-17. I said 37-10. So we weren't that close.
Slimmer margin than we all thought.
Slimmer margin, but we all believed in USF. We believed they would win, and they did it. And at the end of the day, a win's a win. Two more. All
right.
We're going bowling.
All right, guys. Talk about your your weekend, your Saturday night.
They're not the
all
Sunshine State champs.
Well, UF didn't have a game. All right, we can talk.
We got to talk about.
All right, let's preview.
We have to go in
Georgia.
order. We have to go in order.
Oh, you're saving the best for last.
Yeah, that's how
I was about to start. I was like,
there's a hierarchy in college football.
Oh, bro. I can't wait to talk about Florida when they beat FSU in the last week of the season. That's not.
I won't be.
I can't wait
in 2032. When
I can't wait
happens.
to talk about Florida, Georgia, the world's largest cocktail party. An absolute
Come on,
huge
man, we're
game.
a PG
the
show.
Georgia Bulldogs world's largest mocktail party. All right, better.
Probably cocktails if you're a Dogs fan.
All
The
right.
Dogs.
So, oh my gosh, he's gonna start barking at me. Big game. The Florida Gators are unranked. The Georgia Bulldogs are number 1 in the country. They've won back-to-back national championships. However, the Georgia Bulldogs have looked beatable in multiple games. They barely escaped Jordan-Hare Stadium with a win. They struggled at Vandy for some reason. They did beat the brakes off Kentucky, but that was
Kentucky was riding high after a huge win.
I'm telling you, Kentucky post Florida is like the worst team in the history of college football. They always play their best game against Florida, and then they just drop off and play trash the rest of the year. So thank you for that, Kentucky. I already thanked you again. But Florida, Georgia, huge game. Brock Bowers will not be playing. He is out for 4 to 6 weeks. That is huge. Probably the best player in the country not playing for Georgia. And the Florida Gators now have a really considerable advantage at not only the quarterback position, which I think we all can agree on, but also at the skills positions. I think Florida has better running backs, better receivers, and with the emergence of Arliss Boardingham, they might have better tight end group now without Brock Bowers. But those positions favor the Gators. What the Gators have to do this weekend is they have to hold their own in the trenches. Georgia always has 5 stars on the offensive and defensive line. In both games that Florida has lost, they have rushed for less than 70 yards total. Florida has got to be able to rush for 100 to 120 yards, and they have to be able to stop the Georgia run game. That is the reason Florida lost to Utah, amongst other things, but that is the biggest reason they lost to Kentucky. If Florida can just hang in there, break even, I don't even care, break even in the rushing game. That's all you have to do. If it's within 50 yards of the rushing game, of the rushing yards, you're fine. All you have to do is hang in there in the trenches because you have a better quarterback. And it's not really close, in my opinion. Graham Mertz is a better quarterback than Carson Beck, and Carson Beck doesn't have his most reliable target. If you make Carson Beck throw the ball, the Florida Gators can win. I really do believe that. I haven't felt like the Florida can win in 2 years. 21, 22, did not feel like there was a chance. People forget, the game last year ended up being a 42-20 game, but Florida cut the lead to 8 points in the middle of the third quarter. They were down, I think, 28-0 or 28-3, something like that, and they cut the lead down to 28-20. They hung with them with a worse team than what they have this year. So, does anything stick out to you guys that Florida needs to do this week?
You know, I'm going to say my all-time legendary quote. This season has been a tale of 2 Gators. Gators don't have 2 tails. I agree with you. This is coming from a diehard Florida State fan. But I agree with you. If the Gators can put it together on both sides of the ball, they do have a chance because this team looks beatable. But is that easier said than done?
Oh, for sure.
Is that easier said than done?
But we've seen the Florida offensive line dominate Tennessee, and we've seen the defensive line against Tennessee too, and against even Utah. They held Utah down. Against other teams, we've seen both the offensive line and the defensive line perform to a standard that if they can put it all together and do all of that on the same day, they could beat Georgia. And another key is Billy Napier has got to call a game like he called against South Carolina. The play calls, he was pushing the ball downfield. He was a lot of motion in the backfield. He was switching up the plays. He called a really good game against South Carolina. He's got to keep doing that. Graham Mertz, you have to let Graham Mertz throw the ball to win this game because that's how we won against South Carolina, and that's what you need to do this week. You can't run and screen yourself to death because Georgia is too athletic and too disciplined to do that the whole game.
Yeah, I really only have one other point to make, and one thing that concerns me if I was a Gators fan is we've talked about how this Georgia team is beatable. They really are. We've seen it. But at the end of the day, Kirby Smart has gotten those boys to come out in the second half strong, and they found a way to win. And does this Gators team have enough to be the one to finally break the tide? I just don't know. Because we can talk about how this team is beatable, yet they're undefeated and they're the number 1 team in the nation. I don't know if the Gators truly have enough, and I'm not trying to be negative.
I don't know if the Gators have enough
I
either,
don't know
honestly.
if they have what it takes because we can say, yeah, they're beatable. We can say the Gators can put it all together, but will it be enough?
Keep going.
I just think I was looking at the Gators schedule today too.
Brutal.
It's brutal the rest of the way. So I think for their sake too, if you could sneak out with the win, man,
That's huge.
it's huge.
Because
Especially
you got a pretty lackluster Arkansas team blackout game coming up
That's
next
winnable.
week. That should be a win. That's not
Should be a
winnable.
win.
That should be a win. You got to win
But
that
then you
game.
see how they play against Bama, you just don't know. You just don't
Bit of
know.
a good fight.
That is true. However, you have that game. Then you have at LSU and Missouri. You
Those are
hope
tough.
those are tough, but you can definitely get one out of those two. And what you hope for as a Gator fan is you get one out of the two of the FSU Georgia. You really hope. I know it's asking for a lot, but you that would be dream. You go 8-4 and you get wins. You get at least three really huge wins. So that's what we see. Joel, what are you thinking about this game?
So for me, it's. I feel like for a team like Georgia, these good teams, like they don't lose. Like when you think they're gonna lose, they don't. Like head coaches, they pull it out. Their head coach is Kirby
Smart, yep.
Yeah, I just think Kirby Smart, he's gonna pull it out. Like, the star receiver is down, but it's that hard times where he's able to say, "Boys, we're gonna go win this game," and they do it.
I think. Sorry. I think he puts the fear of God into those kids if they don't.
Yeah.
If they don't play well. I'd be scared to be a player for.
Like
Georgia,
I
to be
think
honest.
the talent might be even in this game, but I'm just gonna give the win to the coach. Like, I would love to see the Gators win, but I'm playing a game, I gotta say what's on my heart. And
So
Joel's
say the
playing
score,
the
man.
win.
He's playing the win.
Yeah.
What are you saying? What's the score here?
score. You talked me down a little bit. I had it bigger. I had it 38-24 Georgia. You talked me down. I'm gonna go 34. They're gonna get a couple more.
Okay.
They're gonna get a couple more field goals.
Florida covers. Florida covers. All right.
I think we'll probably end up seeing something a lot similar to last year, in my opinion. Look, I mean, if the Gators definitely have everything there, they have all the tools in place. Can they capitalize? For the sake of trying to win this prediction game, I'm going to say no. I'm going to say Georgia wins 41-23. All right, Mr. Jolly Roger.
This is the moment you all been waiting
That's a lot
for.
of field goals, man.
I think
Maybe a missed extra point or something.
Florida is going to come out and play a really good football game. I think Graham Mertz is going to outplay Carson Beck. I'm just very concerned that Georgia is going to have too many rushing yards and too many opportunities to milk the clock away. I think Florida is going to put up a fight. I really want to, and I'm going to be pretty sad because I really do think Florida can win, and I do think it's possible. But I want to win this game. I went 0 for 2 in the Lightning last week, so I got to step up. And I'll be pretty pissed if the Lightning or if the Gators win and I don't pick them. But that being said, I think it's going to be a very tight game. It's going to be another classic Florida-Georgia, like the mid-2010s. I think this is going to be the game.
The Mark Richt era.
This is going to be, some
Urban.
Muschamp. This is going to be the game where the Gators might not win this game, but it's going to propel them into success against Georgia in the coming years. So I think Georgia's going to win this game 31-28.
Ooh, that's close.
It's going to be a close
That's
one.
a fun nail biter.
That would be a good game.
I think that's what's going to happen.
CBS, man. 3:30 CBS.
The last
game.
ever
There's nothing better.
CBS World's Largest Cocktail Party. That does make me a little sad.
But it's their own fault. You picked the Big Ten over
Dude, but
SEC.
now are we going to have a nighttime Florida-Georgia game? That's sick. Oh, man. Like, if they get the LED lights going both sides, like, if they have it red and blue LED lights, that's sick,
At
man.
3:30, that's just always been the.
It is, but
That's been a staple.
It
It's
is,
been
but,
my
like,
whole
I'll
life.
take
That's
I'll
college
take a night
football now.
game.
They're like, what is it? Classics, rivalries? What's that?
You're
We
gonna
don't care
have
about
two.
that.
You're gonna have too many games at night because NBC has a bunch of Big Ten now.
No one cares
ESPN,
about NBC.
ABC, Fox.
I'll
Everybody's
I'll
gonna.
put 8
There's gonna be
TV
too
screens
many
on.
games. There's too many games.
No, they're going to continue to spread them out, and I think Georgia and Florida is probably going to still be 3:30 because of the drinking aspect of the game. So that's what I think, because I don't think you can let people drink till 7 o'clock and expect there not to be.
It's gonna get a little too rowdy.
Yeah, it's going to get a little rowdy.
the dogs,
there.
the
Yeah, the dogs
dogs.
and the Gators. We're not full of blame. There, go Gators. That's not what I think you said. All right, come on, guys. Talk to me. I want to hear everything about it. Your guys' experience.
So Will really had to pee, so we stopped at a McDonald's. And my rule is I don't go to places without buying something, so I bought some French fries. And I hadn't eaten French fries in a long time when they were really good.
Nice.
That was my experience.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, if you just tuned in, you skipped ahead for college football, and we got the timestamps wrong, we are talking about your number 4 ranked Florida State Seminoles, the 2022 Sunshine State champions. And we had some TB3 correspondents at the game. Me and Joel went up there. I was a little late. That started off the day.
His car. He was being
I
responsible.
was making sure my car was all ready to go, making sure it had oil, the tires are aired up, the seats were clean. I keep my car pristine though.
So we only got there an hour early instead.
So yeah, and I'm an early kind of guy. I'm an old man. I like getting to the game as early as I can. I like being there before the players get there. I went to the Camping World kickoff, and I actually got there before the Seminoles did, believe it or not. So, it is what it is. I like getting there early. But, yeah, me and Joel went up there, and I've been a Seminoles fan my whole life, my whole entire life. And this is the first time I've ever seen him in Doak. And it did not disappoint, Joel.
It did
not disappoint.
They had so many bathrooms.
So they had a lot of bathrooms. That was a weird thing. They had like a bath, but it was like inside the stadium, inside Doak is just open. Like it's just bleachers and then open air under it all the way up. So they had like little rooms inside that part with like 100 bathrooms. And it was a little dark in there too. I didn't like how dark it was.
It was kind of scary. In all honesty, though, their jumbotron rivals Raymond James.
Yeah, it was super nice, and it's got the red and blue lights up there and the spears. But yeah, it was a battle between the number 4 ranked Florida State Seminoles and the number 16 Duke Blue Devils, led by Riley Leonard. They had only one loss on the year, and it was a close matchup against Notre Dame, who everybody's high on. So you kind of mark that one loss. And it was so close. You go, this team is really good. Maybe they're a little higher than 16. It was a Seminole Heritage Night, so everybody was rocking the turquoise blue. It was looking sick. I wish the Seminoles wore it. I wish they wore it on their uniforms in some way. They did not. But, yeah, it was a tough first half. Florida State goes for it. Twice on 4th down, they don't get it, which led to 10 points. And I wasn't concerned. At all. Joel knows that. I wasn't concerned.
I had to talk him to calmness.
Yeah, he had to talk me off the ledge a couple times.
I didn't want to say.
But yeah, it was 20-17 at half, and the tides turned when Duke goes for it on 4th and goal in Florida State territory, and they come up with a huge stop. And that was all she wrote, because Jordan Travis started to run the football, and Duke could not hang. Florida State would win this game 38-20. Jordan Travis had 268 yards passing with 2 touchdowns and had 10 carries for 62 yards on the ground with another touchdown. And once he started running, it was over. Duke could not compete. And it doesn't matter what the score is in the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter. You just can't stop them in the fourth. You just can't stop them.
That's the blood of the Seminole right there. They got the power to come back.
Yeah, they are a second-half team, and I was kind of concerned, and we might have even mentioned this earlier in the year, where it's like, well, you start playing better teams, and if you play not so great in the first half, you're going to let the game slip out of your hands. And I don't think so. I think that defense is too good and too dominant, allowing 0 points in the second half and the offense scoring 21. This team, it's time to start taking them seriously if you haven't yet. It's time to start taking them seriously. I've been high on them all year. I think this team is special. 10 years since the 2013 National Championship, and I think they're poised to make another run because the schedule gets super easy, and the the cards have started falling into place. The stars have aligned. Some teams are losing. We see Oregon's got a loss now. UNC gets upset. USC's out of the picture. Notre Dame. And this team might have the best path to win. And ESPN thinks so. They have them at 59%, which is the highest of making it to the CFP, the College Football Playoff. I could go on about it all day.
The highlight was the punt return for a touchdown.
That was also a big spark by Deuce Spann.
That was huge.
That not only was that the first time I've never seen one on TV that I truly cared about that. I saw one in person. So the first one I ever saw was in person. Like, that's a lifetime football highlight.
Yeah, immediately after a pick six to get a kick return like that was huge. This was a very entertaining game, especially the first half and third quarter. And then the combination of Riley Leonard going down and Duke's, and then that fourth down stop, it was just too much. And once they got one, FSU was rolling, man. That was an electric game. They played good. Duke hung in there. They did a really good job. Mike Elko's building
Duke's a good team.
They're a good team, and they're building a really good program because you can tell they're being built well because they're hanging in there in the trenches. Defensive line, offensive line, they're doing a good job. But they just, without Riley Leonard at full strength, they just didn't have enough firepower to win. And FSU got a couple too many big plays. Like, you can't let them get a kick return like that. You can't let them get as many chunk plays as they did through the air. You can't let Jordan Travis run for 60 yards, which was impressive. That's I think when he's at his best is when he's running. So, yeah, that was a good showing from him.
Yeah, but that's the thing, too. This is why I think they're so dangerous is they have such a dangerous running game. You got Trey Benson, Lawrence Toafili, you got Hill coming in there.
And that was Park grad, by the way.
Yeah, some Florida boys on that team for sure. Well, Deuce Spann from St. Pete, baby. He had the kick return. So you got some Florida boys, some Tampa boys on that team. But I think that's what makes FSU so dangerous is even though their running game is so dangerous, they lull you to sleep with that read option. They hand off inside. I even told Joel this. I said, one of these plays, Jordan Travis is going to keep it, and it's going to be a big game. And sure enough, the very next play they did it. And once he starts doing that, just teams can't compete. You can't compete with Jordan Travis's speed. He is just electric out there. He makes so many plays happen. And once he gets on that outside, he's gone. He is gone. So I just think this team is so. Oh, there's
from the 2022 Sunshine State's showdown. I know
What
all
a
about
play.
his running. Yeah. Oh, bro. PTSD.
He should have been in. They totally took away a sick touchdown by doing some stupid replays. Like, just give it to him, man. He wasn't sliding. He kind of fell in.
That game, Brock Osweiler was calling that game, and he's probably the worst. He's probably the worst commentator I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, I didn't mind him.
Did not like
I kind of
him,
was
dude.
intrigued by the Indian Steve Levy they got there because he sounds just like him. I thought it was him, and it was this Indian guy.
That's funny.
So,
yeah, that's true.
That was interesting.
I heard Brock Osweiler calling. It was like a Pac-12 game, and I was like, I still don't like this guy as a commentator. You were a bad NFL quarterback too.
And wasn't the year before RG3? That was like when RG3 started announcing, right? The 2021 Sunshine State.
That was a crazy game. Damian Pierce scored a touchdown with his helmet off. That was the only notable thing that happened.
I brought some good memories.
Thank you.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, who does FSU got next week?
They got Wake Forest.
Oh, yeah, it's at Wake Forest. Hey,
it is at Wake Forest.
This is a revenge game for FSU because that might have been their worst loss last year.
It
at Wake
definitely
Forest,
was.
whole lot of penalties, sloppy play. It kind of took them out of any type of ACC playoff contention. So I think they're going to beat the doors off the Wake Forest.
Yeah, I think so too. I think Wake Forest is definitely not a good team, losing Sam Hartman, and he just didn't get enough recruits in. And again, it's still, as of right now, it's still must win every week for FSU. If you truly want a chance, all you got to do is continue to win.
Especially with what the ACC is doing. So you do really want to be undefeated.
Yeah, you want to stay undefeated. Winning against Duke was absolutely huge because Duke was tied for first place in the ACC standings. Now FSU has sole place over number 1.
I almost think it's bad for FSU that North Carolina lost to Virginia. Like, you wanted to have that signature win. If they lose one loss and North Carolina is like limping into the ACC championship, then that doesn't really help them. But if they're undefeated, it doesn't matter. They're gonna make it undefeated.
That score popped up on the Jumbotron while we were at the game, and I was like, "Will North Carolina lost?" and there was sadness in his eyes.
Yeah, I was upset because I thought, if Florida State does somehow lose a game in the next couple of
in
games.
the swamp.
You know what? I can't say anything. I'm not going to jinx it. But if they were to lose a game, yeah, you want UNC to be undefeated. So then it's like, look, we just beat UNC. I still think, though, the media doesn't look at UNC as high because they're certified choke artists. I like Mac Brown, but they are choke artists.
That was an absolutely atrocious.
So would it
loss
mean
for
that much? Who knows? All I know is Florida State's got to win, and they got to do
They're
it this week.
winning 58-10.
58-10. You know what?
That's
I love it.
big numbers.
They're gonna absolutely. Wake Forest lost to recently ranked James Madison.
They're kind of good, though.
They're
kind of good.
But I still don't think.
My score is much more humble compared to that. No, I feel like I'm like, man, I probably should have thought this through more. I'm going 34-13 Seminoles.
That just seems.
There's nothing wrong with that.
That seems like it'd be 17-13 going in half, and I'll be furious. So I hope it's not.
I mean,
yeah.
it's the Seminoles. Like, sometimes their starting first halves aren't that good.
I hope not. I hope they just have a solid game. It's a beatable team, and you want some revenge. I know it's not Hartman, but this team has kind of started to dominate you the past couple of years. I know FSU wasn't that good. But, yeah, it's time to turn the tides. It's time to show who the top dog is and who runs this conference from day one. That is the Florida State Seminoles. I'm going to say 56-17, Florida State wins this game.
Man, I hope you guys are right. My game's too boring.
It's too close. I don't want it to be
I
that
love
close.
close
I want just a nice blow.
Joel always wants the close game.
I don't want to be tempted to turn the channel.
Yeah.
That will be at 12 o'clock on... Sorry.
I think it's ESPN.
It's ABC. I knew it was ABC.
Oh, it's
I just
ABC.
want to make sure because I thought ESPN as well. But yeah, 12 o'clock on ABC. Florida State, 4 million viewers on Saturday night. It's pretty big. That was the third most watched game. Only one more was Alabama and Tennessee. And who's the other one? Ohio State and Penn State. So they're right up there. Everybody's watching them.
All right, so yeah, let's talk about it. Ohio State beats Penn State. They have two really good wins right now, and this was honestly like I do not like the Big Ten. I don't like them. I think they're always overrated. But these were two really good defenses, and I could see it. They're flying around the ball, and Drew Aller just did not look like he was ready for the moment. And also, Penn State couldn't protect for anything, and the offense didn't get going. And Ohio State won because Marvis Harrison Jr. is good. That's about it. I got it on that.
Yeah, I wanted Penn State to be good this year because I think we'll get to Michigan a little bit more here in a bit. But I think Michigan are frauds year in and year out. And I think Ohio State this year isn't as good as they were last year. I think their quarterback is still – I'm not sold on them. I think Notre Dame was a big win. But it's like, here we go, Penn State. How many times are they going to do this where they get all the hype, they're ranked top 10, and they finally play a real team and lose? And yeah, granted it was close, but there's one thing they have in common with every other year is they lose the big games. So I'm not too high on it, to be honest with you.
James Franklin on the hot seat? I think he
should be. He should be.
He can't win big games. It's like the same story every single year.
Yeah, he should be on the hot seat. I assume Penn State, they probably love he probably brings in a lot of money. He brings in some good recruits. They go to a bowl game. They sometimes win. They sometimes lose. So you're getting in decent cash from them. But if you truly want to win and compete in the Big Ten East, James Franklin is not your guy. He's just not. And, so it's like Ohio State, good job. You want a tough game, But it's Penn State. They're certified losers. We've seen this story over and over and over. So that's all I got to say on that one.
I wish Penn State was good. They're so cool, but they're just not good. Like, I didn't really have any hope in Penn State going into this game.
And we have a wee-woo potential fraud alert as the Oklahoma Sooners barely escaped the lowly UCF Knights 31-29. And I got one thing to say about this game. Stop running that 2-point play. It doesn't work. The little flip pass to the running back, double pass play. Penn State tried it. UCF tried it. All in the matter of 10 minutes. Both of them failed. That 2-point play sucks, and it was a terrible choice, UCF. And honestly, I don't like you guys, but I was rooting for you to win. And Oklahoma, I think they're probably going to run the table, go back to the Big 12 championship, and get rocked by Texas.
But they don't deserve it. This is what I'm saying. Why do we hype up these Big 12 teams? They stink. They stink. And they're destined to lose. And even if they don't deserve to go to the playoff. They just don't. I don't care how much they win against Oklahoma State or Kansas. I don't care. They're not that good. And I hate UCF because I bleed green and gold, baby. And the battle I-4, I hate UCF.
The war on
I'm
I-4.
still mad at you for abandoning us like the Dr. Pepper commercial.
Yeah, just like the commercial. I hate UCF. But, oh, man, I wanted them to win pretty bad because, like I said, Oklahoma are frauds. And UCF, you could have helped prove me right. But you didn't, and you blew it. And they were up big in that game, too. I don't remember the specific score, but I remember looking going, okay, UCF, they got a chance. And you blow it. So
it would have been a
sad.
big game for the program, too. Like, first year in the Big 12.
They haven't won a Big 12 game yet.
Yeah.
Frauds,
Fun fact,
bums.
USF has won a Big 12 game more recently than UCF. Fun fact.
Or was it like 2016?
Hey, but
2016, but
Oh my
UCF
gosh.
hasn't won one since, and they're actually in the Big 12 now, so
UCF's
they got no excuse.
won a fake national championship, though.
That's true.
Gosh, I hate them. Also, I just want to give a quick shout out to your number 19th ranked Air Force Academy, who got a big win over Navy in the Armed Forces Bowl, one of them. But
Part one?
Yeah, part one. But shout out Air Force. They are, hopefully they make it into the Fiesta Bowl, I think is what the
That'd be
five.
sick.
Hopefully
That'd be
they make
sick.
the Fiesta Bowl. That would be sick. I would love that.
Yeah, I like Air Force. I like when these smaller teams are good. I wouldn't say like they deserve a playoff spot or nothing like that, but it's a fun story. It's fun for these
Get
guys.
them in the Fiesta Bowl.
They don't get a
the Fiesta Bowl
recruit
is
as
what-
easy as other teams get to because you have to have the academic standards, and you also want to be in the Air Force. So yeah, they got an uphill battle to climb, but shout out Air Force.
They actually probably have worse academics because it's military. Maybe.
No, you have to
Air
you have to
Force.
be smart to get into air
That's
because
true,
you got to
Air
fly the
Force.
planes. You got to
That's
fly the
true.
planes.
It's Army. Sorry, Harrison. That's my bad.
Yeah, you got to be smart for the Air Force. Also, fun fact, my first ever college football game was an Air Force Falcons game against the San Diego Aztecs. That'll be a trivia question one day.
How'd you get to that game?
When I was like 3 or something.
That's awesome. That's actually so cool.
Your parents raised you right.
Yeah, there you go. Also, Alabama takes back the cigars and smokes that Tennessee pack as they ride a huge second half to beat the Tennessee Volunteers 34-20. And by huge second half, I mean let me count this right. 27 unanswered in the second half as Tennessee was up 20-7 going into halftime, and they just completely imploded, and Alabama flexed their muscles in the trenches. And Jalen Milroe had a pretty decent game, and that's about it.
Yeah, I think we all said last week, I expected Tennessee to lose. I didn't think it would be that close, honestly, and I didn't think Alabama would have to come back.
Man.
Yeah,
They came out
as much as they
good.
did.
Joe Milton looked the best he's looked in the Tennessee uniform, and second half they imploded.
Yeah, I'm still just saying that SEC is not as good this year. Alabama is suspect number one for me because I don't think Tennessee's that good. And then you go, well, they got a ranked win against Tennessee. Well, we knew Tennessee were frauds. Like, we already knew that. And then Alabama wins, and it's a big deal. So I'm waiting for somebody. I think LSU is going to beat Alabama, and we can finally say goodbye to them because
Unless that happens, I think we might be seeing them in the playoffs.
Well, they're gonna
I
have
don't
to beat
think they
Georgia.
deserve it. I just don't think they deserve it.
If they beat Georgia, they deserve it. But I don't think they'll beat Georgia. Or maybe
that
Georgia.
would
Or maybe every
Maybe
SEC
Florida
team.
beats Georgia,
Yeah.
and then Georgia loses to Bama, and everybody's got 2 losses.
Dude,
and
imagine
there's-
Florida. Florida really does have a lane where they can wriggle their way into the SEC
Imagine
championship. Like, honestly, like they do, and it would be awesome. for
Imagine
me.
a playoff with no SEC teams. The
would be
last
crazy.
4, the last one with 4. Imagine that. 2 Big Tens, an ACC, and a Pac-12.
I bet you guys thought I was going to
crazy.
talk about Iowa football. We're not. They suck.
That's got to get
Texas-
their OC fired, right? Because
Dude,
they only
he's-
scored 10.
They're doing bad.
I don't think he can get to
they had a
25
punt return
a game.
touchdown taken back because I don't know. It was like a fake fair catch, but they called it.
They were saying there's
crazy.
some controversy. But
Texas barely escapes
Rest in
Houston.
pepperoni.
That's crazy. The first
Texas are frauds.
it was Texas versus Houston, just like it was in the ALCS.
Whoa.
Texas versus Houston, and Texas won both times. So good for that. I don't know why they had so much trouble. I think Quinn Ewers is hurt.
He's
too.
hurt, which I'm excited because I think
Arch.
for Arch Manning enthusiast, you might get to see him this Saturday. So tune into Texas.
That will be
that would be
actually
cool.
entertaining.
That would be cool to see Arch Manning. I can't lie. If he's playing, I'll be watching that game.
We already mentioned this, but North
Was he in the
Carolina,
Peyton Manning family?
He is the oldest
nephew.
brother's son.
Yeah, he's
Yeah, so
Cooper
he's-
Manning's son. He's
The
Peyton Eli's
royalty
nephew.
continues.
Yeah.
That'd
It's funny
be
because
sick.
Cooper was like he couldn't play. He was a wide receiver and he couldn't play because he got hurt in like high school and college.
Yeah, he got some. Back in the day when they couldn't do anything, he got his bell rung, and they said that was it. Put him out to pasture.
That's funny. We already talked about this. North Carolina, shame on you. You lost to a team that that was just happy to be there apparently all this year. So that's a really bad loss at home too. It's unacceptable, honestly.
And Virginia might not win another game
No,
this year. Like that's
seriously.
going to be sad if that's their second statement win is against UNC. So
Absolutely brutal. Ole Miss hangs on against Auburn. Nothing much there, I don't think. Utah USC. Utah continues to own the USC Trojans. This game was pretty crazy. Utah went up 14 points. USC came all the way back to take a 1-point lead. And then Utah, off a scramble play by their quarterback, gets into field goal range and kicks a game-winning field goal with time expiring. This was an absolute crazy game. And USC, goodbye, good night, see ya.
And that's coming with the news that Cam Rising will be shut down for the rest of the year. So
Barnes, their quarterback, the one that started this game, has not lost a game as a starter.
Yeah, I think Utah's a good team. Like I said last week, watch out for them. They're dangerous. I would have loved to see Cam Rising back because I think it just takes him to a whole nother level. But I'd still say watch out for him the rest of the year because there's a lot of Pac-12 teams that still got to play him. I think a big game coming up this week, so we'll see how that goes. The ACC, man, some crazy stories. Clemson losing to Miami in overtime.
Jimbo absolutely throwing his quarterback under the bus. Sure that
mean
went
Dabo?
well. Yeah. Oh yeah, I said Jimbo. Both
Another
mid.
bad coach.
Both mid, but yeah, Dabo did that. Yeah, and then Washington almost lost to Arizona State. That was weird.
Arizona State's
hangover
been
game.
taking it to some teams. They almost beat Colorado too.
Yeah, well, Washington and Colorado are on a different stratosphere.
But I'm saying they kept it just as close for both of those
What was
teams.
I?
So
I had something.
That
Oh,
was a close
guys.
score for that game.
Clay Helton, former USC coach, and Lincoln Riley have the same record through 22 games. 17-5.
who's he coach of?
Clay Helton, former USC coach, the USC coach before this,
Oh, okay.
and Lincoln Riley now, same record through 22 games. That's crazy.
Yeah, I just still think that Lincoln Riley will end up getting more recruits in the long run, and they're going to go to the Big Ten.
I think Lincoln Riley should go to the NFL. I think he needs some competent defensive coaching with him, and he needs NFL.
But he could probably find that in college.
He's had the same defensive coordinator, and he's bad. And I think the dude has some
But don't you think he's going to want to go where Caleb Williams goes? And like the NFL
Maybe.
might not necessarily be willing, or the team that's number one, maybe the Bears. Okay, that seems more likely if they would fire Eberflus. But like Denver, I don't think they get rid of Sean Payton. They gave up too much for him.
That's true.
You know, I think in the long run, USC will be okay if he stays. I still think they struggle in the Big Ten. Still think it's gonna be a long adjustment
for sure.
period. But yeah, I think in the long run they'll be okay.
Yeah.
It's really their defense. Their offense is phenomenal still.
Yeah. Well, Utah did a good job of them.
They're a good team though. They're a good team.
They're a good team.
You know?
Yeah. But it's a little concerning for them that they've lost 3 times in a row to Utah. Yeah, I think we move on to this week.
Yeah, well, I think we should talk some big stories.
Oh, Michigan.
The cheating scandal in Michigan. Any thoughts on that? Is it true?
I think
it's gotta be.
I think
true.
there's shades.
Did it help them?
I think there's shades of truth, but I don't think they're gonna get a hefty punishment.
No,
I think it's one of those things
they'll
where
get
it's
a
just
slap
like,
on the wrist.
I think it's one of those things where they just they did something that a lot of teams probably do, and they kind of just overstepped a little bit. I don't think they're gonna get any like wins vacated or anything like that. I would be like honestly so mad if Michigan finally breaks through and then the NCAA vacates their championship, which I don't think they're gonna do it this year.
No, they're frauds.
No, but that would suck. I hate when the NCAA just like does that. Like we're just gonna like forget or something. That's the dumbest thing they do. But I mean, it's like basically it's like Houston all over again. But I don't think it's as bad as Houston because it's not in game. It's like, well, I don't even know.
They were paying some
Yeah,
guy,
it was a fan.
Connor Stallion, and apparently he was going and getting like the best seats in the house to all these Big Ten games and stealing signals or something like that. They suspended him, and there's like a Venmo transcript they found where he like paid somebody with somebody paid him. It was Georgia paid him last year and had the Buckeye logo as like the reason for payment. So people were thinking he was giving Georgia signals to, but that'd be crazy. Like, why would you want to help out Georgia? Because they could have played him in the playoff. So I don't know. It could be. It's all hearsay.
I think it'll blow over.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, did it even help them? Not really.
Well, help them beat Ohio State.
One of the head coaches that they played against said they knew every play that was coming up.
Oh, Greg Schiano said
Greg
that.
Schiano,
Former
that
Buck.
was it. Greg
Former
Schiano.
Bucs,
Yeah.
man. He did say he was like something's up. I did see that interview. That was kind of crazy. So I don't know. Maybe it is a bigger deal than we're making it.
Shout out Greg Schiano, man.
Back at
Rutgers
Rutgers.
loves that man, and he certainly
They're
loves it.
honestly decent.
They're
love them
decent,
too.
yeah.
I love him too.
I miss him. He brought some grit to that Bucs team when they needed it.
Not wins.
Not wins, but he brought some grit. And
Hey,
they played.
gave him a
They
couple
played
more-
hard back
couple
then.
more
Okay.
years and he might have gotten some wins.
I think he's very, very forgotten out of those sling of coaches with Lovey and Raheem Morris and Dirk Cotter. Can't forget about Greg Schiano.
Oh,
man.
Dirk Cutter was awful. Okay, we don't need to talk about
That's one of
all
the
the
worst
Bucs
Bucs
coaches.
ever.
I
All
think, okay, next thing before we get to next week. So October 31st is the first playoff rankings that come out. So next week I think we'll predict who we think they'll put in. But I want to hear what you guys want. Who's your top four right now after watching college football this year, and who's your first two out?
All right, I'm going to go Georgia number 1, FSU number 2, Washington number 3, Michigan. Yeah, I'm going to go Michigan. Michigan number 4, Washington.
You just said Washington.
What's up?
You said Washington already.
No, I'm going the teams out. Washington's the first one out.
You said
And-
Washington
You
was
said,
in.
you said them number 3.
Yeah, so I got my 4, right?
Yeah, so you want
who's
the
it-
5
who's
and
5
6.
and 6?
They got 6 spots now?
No,
Well, like
no.
who's the two teams
So if
that are
you
like?
watch the show,
okay.
if you watch
Who
the
do you
show,
think
they,
is like right?
Okay,
at-
okay.
They
right
watch the
up
show.
there?
They have the
Okay,
bracket, and then they have the
we'll
first
go,
two
We'll go
out.
Ohio State and Alabama.
All right.
Okay, that's fair.
So here's what I think. If I was the ranking, I would go off what I saw this season only. So with that being said, I don't like it, but because of their 2 big wins, I'm going to put Ohio State at number 1. I think you just have to reward teams for getting 2 huge wins against quality teams. I would put. I'll put FSU at number 2 because I like their Duke win. I like their LSU win. Yeah, I'll put Georgia at 3. I'll put Washington at 4. I will put Michigan at 5, and I'll put OU at 6.
I like it. Yeah, and like I said, we'll do the predictions of who we think they'll put in next week. But this is who I think. I still think you got to give respect to Georgia. I think they truly are the number 1 team right now until they get beaten, and we can finally say they're frauds. But I think right now you just got to respect them. So I'm putting Georgia at 1. My number 2 is Florida State. Florida State has a huge win against LSU, which too many people forgot about. They had a statement win against Clemson when the odds were against them.
On the road, too.
On the
That means
road.
something.
In the Death Valley, the other one. And then beating Duke, number 16, a ranked opponent, and to just show dominance. And I think this team is a lot better than people think. It kind of stinks that LSU win was way earlier in the season because we get to this point and it's like forgotten, So I think Florida State's number 2. Number 3 for me is Ohio State. I think I still think I don't have faith in them, but I'm never going to put Michigan over them. I think Michigan is the most overhyped team in the nation. So give me Ohio State at 3, and I think the 4th best, you just have to give it to Washington. Michael Penix and that offense. They're looking like the 2019 LSU Tigers out there. Do they have the defense, though? I'm just not convinced because it's a Pac-12, man, and that's why they're at number 4 for me. Number 5, I would say Michigan is right there. Number 5, they still have a lot of wins, but again, they're frauds. And number 6, man, I still think you gotta keep Oregon up there. I think they're one loss. I still think they can hang, and they're right there. And if something happens to Washington, I think they're right there in it. So that's my top 6.
All right. This week in your college football, I got beef with the schedule makers because we got way too many good games on at 3:30. I don't know what that's up with that. But at noon, obviously got FSU, but we have Oklahoma heading to Kansas. Kansas is 5-2. I don't know if Jalen Daniels or Bean is going to play, so that's a big story. But does anyone want to take a Kansas upset this week?
I love Kansas.
At home.
I'd certainly like to. I would certainly like to see that, but I just don't think.
I think they might do it. Like, on the low, at home, and the way Oklahoma just played, I don't know. I would take Oklahoma, but I'm not surprised if Kansas gets an upset.
Yeah, I'm taking Oklahoma because I just think this is how it always goes. They're just going to get lucky enough to stay alive, and everybody's going to say, is this team for real? Is this Oklahoma team for real? Is it time to take them seriously? No, it never is. It's a Big 12. Look at their record literally since the CFP started. It stinks.
Yep, and then 3:30, Pac slate. You got Florida, Georgia. Then you also have a big Pac-12 game as Oregon and Utah face off in Utah. Both one-loss teams. Huge game. Elimination game for the playoff. Who do you guys have?
I just think it's a must-win for Oregon. It's a must-win.
It's for both of them. That's
And I
second
think-
loss for both of them.
I think for Oregon, they got a lot more to lose than Utah because people have kind of wrote them off, even with one loss, and even after beating USC. I think Oregon just has to win this game, and I think they're going to, but it's going to be brutally close.
I'm gonna go with Utah. Like I feel like they just know how to win. Like I know they got the one loss, but they win.
Bo Nix legacy game. Oregon wins. Give me Oregon or Washington back in the Pac-12 championship. And then we have a sneaky fun ACC game. We have Duke headed into Louisville. 3:30 again. What the heck are we doing? Do we got Duke? I'm taking Duke in this game.
Louisville.
Yeah, I honestly think Riley Leonard will be ready to go for this, and I think after you saw what Duke can do, their defense is just too good, and I think Louisville is too young, and that loss to Pitt really hurt their momentum. So yeah, give me Duke. They're a good team, man. It might be a rematch for the ACC championship. Who knows?
Then we have, man, why did North Carolina have to lose, man? That just takes such away from the Duke-North Carolina football game.
But now it might be both one loss.
True, maybe. No, Duke has 2 already.
Oh, yeah, it's true. It's true.
Kentucky. Anyone taking Kentucky over Tennessee at home?
I'll bite.
I think I'll bite.
If
Yeah,
they're at
that
home, yeah, I'll
sounds
bite.
good.
I bet you they might. I bet you they beat
Tennessee's
the
a bunch of
Vols.
losers.
All right, 7:30 p.m. Coach Prime, after the bye week, is back in action, heading into Los Angeles to play the UCLA Bruins. Does anyone want to take the Colorado upset? I think Colorado's going to get spanked.
I would love to see UCLA win.
No, I bet you it's gonna be a lot closer than people think. I think they finally got a bye week. They finally got time to kind of get the media off of their backs, and I just think it'll be a lot closer. No, I don't think they have enough to win, but I think it won't be. I don't think it'll be a blowout. I just don't think so.
Oregon State at Arizona. Arizona's been a sneaky good team.
Oregon State.
I would go Arizona.
Oregon State.
I'm scared that Oregon State's going to lose this game. I really don't want them to, but I'm scared that Arizona's going to win. But give me Oregon State. But that's it, guys. Thank you guys for listening. This has been a long episode. Where we're going to have all the chapters in it, so you'll know how to skip around and how to navigate through your week.
Or just listen
Or
to the
just
whole
listen to the
thing.
whole thing. Do what you got to do, but we're going to make it as easy as possible for
On
you to do the whole
Spotify,
thing.
you can put us on like 3 speed.
Yep, you can do that. I don't know how you hear me, but that's okay.
I'm pretty good at it.
But yes, thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for all the interaction, follows, likes, all that stuff. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter/X. Subscribe on YouTube. Follow on Spotify. And yeah, good night, guys. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, it's time to cue the music, and you're going to hear this on Thursday night on Prime. Go Bucs, fire the cannons. Let's go Tampa Bay Buccaneers.